I was gonna say everybody's doing great. No, I'm just kidding. I only see Kenya. Chat keeps telling me the fact that I'm, no, it is. A sign of growth definitely is questions. The more questions you ask, think of a question like like you're inputting an order to, like, if you have a question and you ask yourself that question, you are essentially, not to bring up Amazon because we don't stand Amazon, but it's like sending an order to Amazon for something. It's going to take a while, maybe to get in the mail, maybe 2 days, maybe it'll come same day. But either way, when you ask a question, you're putting an order in and it will come to you, because you're telling your brain, put your attention on this. Like, a question is Mercury's favorite thing. Sound. Okay, let me go ahead and mute. Yeah, there we go. Okay, hello TikTok. We're going live over at the Midnight Scholar Society. Sorry, ADHD. I heard noises. We're going live over at the Midnight Scholar Society. I'm doing a class on the artist way, so stay tuned or interested if you want to know how to. If you're feeling uninspired and need a way to get back into who you are, build your creativity, and just in any kind of sense of building your own life. I'm all jumbled right now because I can't figure out how to close this box. How do I close this box? Oh, here we go. Okay. There. I stopped panicking. Discord. Anyway, so yeah, Kenya, anytime you ask yourself a question, it's like inputting an order into your brain. Your brain then will segment off a piece of attention towards it and it'll come back to you. So that's what you ever notice. You ask a question and then maybe you're watching a TV show and all of a sudden the theme of it pops up and you're like, that's weird. I was just thinking about that. And now you're seeing it play out. See, you sent in an order to your brain to highlight the solution to this. And so then the solution via energy playing out in your general area or space is highlighted. And because like you are feasibly, as a human being, you could be inundated with trillions of pieces of information all at once, every single second that you were alive, right? So your brain is filtering. When you ask questions, you are being like a master filter. You're putting in an exact order. So that is a sign of growth. When we are not growing is when we make assumptions. So if you like the sign of knowing whether you are healthy and moving towards growth or you are stagnant and moving towards decay is how many questions do I ask when I don't know something versus how many assumptions do I make when I don't really know something? Do I recognize that I don't know something? Sometimes we make assumptions about people's behavior. Sometimes we make assumptions about how something works. Sometimes we make assumptions about what's happening, right? Because we've been taught not to ask questions for so many different reasons. And so it's about like the more questions you ask, the more you're growing, just like children. Okay, so let me see. Yeah. So I passed that message. Yeah. See, the ChatGPT is so helpful because it kind of highlights a lot of things that we don't notice. And I will say this, 9 times out of 10, the reason why you feel like you may need to heal or like you are not growing is because you're not able to see the growth and the healing that you're doing. And so you're hyper focused on gotta heal, gotta grow, instead of how have I healed? How am I growing? How do I heal? That's a good one. How do I heal? So now you are seeing how you are healing the things that are bothering you. And by seeing the way that you are healing it, other things may come up and you can recognize that you're not healing that other thing because you're not doing the same steps or you're not interacting in the same way. Anyways, Felix, we see, I'm so excited to get back into creative journey. Yeah, I'm very excited for today too. TikTok, hello. I'm doing a class over the Midnight Scholar Society. We're about to start for sure. I'm just, catching up with everybody in the chat. The being is real and lots of rest too. When I try to push harder or do more, life sends me to bed to stay home. So I'm just going with the flow and staying present as much as possible. Reading, the Earthsea series. Really? I was thinking about getting into that. I have it on Audible and I have the physical copy and I have been just waiting. I don't know what. I think I started the first chapter not too long ago and I just kept getting distracted. So I do need something I like that the fact that the Earthsea series is so philosophical and in fantasy, so it feeds the soul. So I gotta focus on that. I have Anna Karina over here that I've been like, it's just taunting me at this point. Like, are you gonna read me or are you just gonna look at me? So that's wild. Pretty chill and magical. Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely, this is a sign, obviously, for me to get more serious. I have been so sleepy lately. One, I'm still in hibernation mode, which, that has its, mixed with the energy of day to day during the new year of like our year right now, 2025. Being sleepy and also like confronting all those energies is a wild mix. My dreams have been quite, I don't want to say insane, but quite informative about a lot in my own energy. I took 3 naps today. I thought something was wrong. No, it is a sleepy day today. I did school with my kids and it was such a low key, like I had to alter, we did more reading today than other activities, and the way that we had to alter all of that was based off of just feeling kind of sleepy. Even my kid was like, can we do something different today? And I was like, maybe. all right, because I'm feeling it too. So I think anyways, let me go ahead and start the recording and introduce everything. We've got some people over on TikTok Live, so I'm sure some people will probably trickle in there. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let me put on my theater voice. Hello. No, I'm just kidding. Hi, everybody. I'm Francina. And we're here today with the beginning. We're starting a new course. So this is exciting. It's the Creative Awakening, a 12-week journey. So we're going to be going through the artist way and really getting serious about carving out, recognizing, and taking full responsibility, and being accountable and really showing up in our creative journey, right? Because we are creative beings. That's all we do. And a huge thing that I want to talk about before we dive into this is why why something like the Artist Way is so important. This is the first kind of book that you'll ever come across that's like a manual for creatives, because most artistry and most creativity is thought to be either inherent talent, inherent interest, or just something that people do who are really good at doing or working with color, making things, seeing into their imagination. And it's like, no, those are all of the people who are probably going to go on to be like high experts in the field, but everyone is a creative. The same way that everyone needs a little bit of math to get by, but there are some people who are experts in the math field. Not everybody wants to spend all their life trying to create new patterns and formulas and looking at shapes and being like, how else can this triangle? Like, not everybody's that autistic about it. You know what I mean? Some people are just like, okay, I just need to know how this triangle works because I'm in architecture, or I just need to know how this triangle works because I'm literally just trying to leverage something from downstairs upstairs without breaking shit. Or I just need to know how this triangle works because I don't know, I'm looking at natal charts and I'm seeing triangles. There's 1,000 different reasons. I'm just mentioning the ones that I kind of come across. But there are 1,000 different reasons why somebody would be interested in shapes, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go on to be the next Pythagorean theorem. Most creativity is taught as if everyone who is Pythagorean theorem in the creative space, that's the creative. And that's not the creative. That is the creative who will go on to create more than anyone has ever created. And so therefore they will have a lot to say about and a lot to show about what creativity can be and is, right? So when you go through primary education, especially creativity isn't a focus once a child reaches middle school for the most part. When I was growing up, this is some decades ago, in middle school, you could still take a class called creative thinking, but I went to a fairly decently resourced school in a city. You get what I'm saying? And I don't think that class is still offered. I don't think it was offered that much longer after I was there, and this was in Florida. You get what I'm saying? So that was middle school. Before then, creativity is a focus in elementary school. You still sometimes have the art class in elementary school, but by the time someone gets to about high school, art is an elective. It's something that you can elect to do, and it's categorized based off of fine drawing medium. So fine drawing, or the fine arts. So drawing, sculpting, writing is not considered a fine art, even though it is a fine art. You see what I'm saying? But it's kept in English, even though English is a wide range of things like history, science. That English has an awful lot of stuff going on in it that most people don't know. But we relegate that to reading and writing. And the other fine arts or arts that exist is how do you think, solve problems, and express yourself. How do you think? How do you solve problems? How do you express yourself? Those are three things that every single human being does. They all think. They all, in some way, shape, or form, they all have the capacity to, in whatever way, think. Whatever thinking means to each and every individual. They all have the ability to express themselves, and they all have the ability to solve problems, right? Some problems that we solve, other people don't have those problems. Some problems that we solve, lots of people have those problems. But you can see how those three things, those are the fundamentals of creativity. And they just get thrown out like the baby in the bathwater. No, we don't need to focus on that. We don't need to think about that. We just think about the fine arts, drawing, sculpting, painting, that's art. And it's like, no, those things are usually ways of expressing. Sometimes they're used to solve problems. Sculpture, right, can be used to solve problems because we get into architecture and all that kind of stuff. The tools that we build and create. And then, drawing is communicating something, an image or a concept that is otherwise not material, and rendering it in blueprint form material. So that's just a form of communication and communicating with people. So those are, again, the high arts, or the high, somebody who's really focused in on this. And once you get out of elementary school, you're either there, or we don't talk about creativity anymore. We talk about the real things, like problems. Not how to solve them, but how to memorize the solutions that other people have come up with. And one day, if you're smart enough, maybe you will come up with a solution too, even though we just ignore the fact that creativity, right? And oftentimes it's because creativity presents itself in so many different ways. I taught a creativity course over the multiverse, and it's a school run by Liz Howard. It's all for like programmers, anybody in the computer science field is usually over there, robotics, AI, all of that kind of stuff. But a lot of what I did was help people move through creative blocks as they built programs. Because again, creativity, problem solving, how do we organize? How do we recognize our inspiration? How do we move energy throughout our body to be able to do the things that we want and or need to do is the ultimate problem that humans are solving every day. How do I move energy throughout my body to do what I need to do? So you'd be surprised, it shows up in everything. And so the Artist Way is one of the best manuals I have ever come across that helps people identify their artistic or their creative self, the artist in them, and then use it for their day-to-day life to enhance their day-to-day life. That's why, I'm going to say at the start of this, if everybody could take time out to read week 1 and week 2 by week 2, so that way we can kind of recap some things by week 2. But it's not necessary. I will give you kind of a sense. We're going to kind of go over a recap of some of these things. But I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about some other aspects that kind of jump out to me. Also, different ways that this shows up in our emotional, physical, and mental bodies and spiritual bodies. How to deal with some of the stuff that comes through. And, and one thing I want to say before I get too deep is that we'll have weekly check-ins. So next class, we'll check in, see how many morning pages, we'll get to that everybody's done, and how many artist dates, if anything has come up or was scheduled that week, gets done, etc. We'll kind of check in and see how everybody's doing. So if you are doing the class, I do kind of suggest you come in physically for class, but it is not necessary. Obviously, you can do check-ins with yourself. I've done this 12-week. I was just listening to the audiobook, and I kind of crammed it. I did 12 weeks in like 12 days. Now, but I was just in a space and place where I could do a lot of the things that, and I had all the time in the world, so I just took advantage of that. And honestly, you can do it all on your own. You can do it week by week. You can build stuff. I think going the full week and giving yourself time to do things and seeing how it fits into your life is most helpful, because what we're going to discuss here is just totally changing your lifestyle to be the lifestyle that you want to live. I'll say that one more time. What we're going to do throughout these 12 weeks is identify the lifestyle that you want to live, which just means identifying you. We're not going to go out and Pinterest board and say, "Oh, I'd love to have this quaint little." No, 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 no. We're not vision boarding anything, and we're not trying to fill in aesthetics, right? I think the last 15 years has been people obsessed with the aesthetic. What is my lifestyle? Does it look like this? If it doesn't look like this picture, then I don't know what it is. If how do I know I'm in the dark academia aesthetic if I don't have plaid in my wardrobe? If my books aren't all leather bound and it's not dark in my room, like, how do I know? And a big answer to that is that's because all that shit's fake. That's ego blocking. And we're going to move ourselves away from that and identify your aesthetic. Who are you? I can't tell you all how long I spent my life thinking I didn't have an aesthetic. Oh, I'm just so eclectic. I just have all these different things and nothing really matches. And then other people would be like, "Oh, wow. It's so interesting, this aesthetic you have going on me. What are you talking about?" Them. All of this stuff, it really looks like you. Oh, I didn't know that I was allowed to just be an aesthetic. I thought it needed to be organized a certain way, color-coded a certain way, stacked a certain way, if you will. You know what I mean? And no, I mean, like, we're going to take the 12 weeks to identify who are you, so that you can see it in your material world. There are going to be some things that you discover that's that's really inspiring. Wow, this is who I am. There are going to be some things that you discover that maybe you don't like so much, and that's great because now you can see every artist makes things that are ugly. I'm just going to tell you that every artist makes things that are ugly. That's just called a rough draft. Means we have something to work with, and some things we want to work on quickly so we can really get that turned around. And some things, at least we have something to work with and we can move from here versus nothing, which is great. So the next 12 weeks, we're going to identify who are you so you can see yourself in your material environment so that you can change, alter, and or nurture all of the things that that make you so that you can thrive in your own creative environment, because that's creativity. What are we doing? Self-expression is, I should say this in order. I didn't write this down, and now it's killing me because there's 3 different things. How do we problem solve, right? How do we express ourselves? And also, how do we, oh man, I forgot the other one. What did I say? Anybody remember what I said? I should have wrote that down. That was really smart. You know what I mean? About how we're creative. Oh man. Anyways, with the artist way, think. Yeah, how we think. Oh, thanks. I wasn't thinking about it. Okay, so how we think, how we, damn, I lost the other 2. I'm just kidding. How we think, how we express ourselves, and how we solve problems. As we go through this, how we think is, who are you? Who are you? Are you your thoughts, or are you the one who can filter what types of thoughts you're going to entertain versus what you're not? Are you your thoughts, or are you the attention that you apply to them? Ooh, once you know that you're the attention that you're applying to your thoughts, now we can shift our attention how we will, and we can see what thoughts we've been really leaning on lately, what we've boxed ourselves into. Like, what do you tell yourself all the time? I used to tell myself I wasn't a teacher, and then, it just used to irritate me that I was like destined to teach all the time. It was to the point where, y'all, I taught kids for 3 years, and I was paid by the government to teach children 4 different schools over the course of 3 years, same schools. I just alternated throughout the week because I would go through and I would work and collaborate with the English teachers at each school to be able to create some interactive curriculum for the kids in class. I used to just call myself an English clown because it was fun. I just got to like have fun with kids because, I can only talk to them in English so that they could inspire them to speak English. But in order to actually get their test scores up and this, that, and the other, they needed to actually be applying things and seeing how to apply stuff. So I had to come up with some really, really good things that helped not only in my classroom, but with others. Now, because I had fun and because I generally didn't like to qualify myself as a teacher, I come from a family of educators. So it was like, I'd rather do something else, I used to just call myself an English clown. I'm telling you, about the dumbest thing I could ever do. Granted, I didn't come up with that myself. A lot of my coworkers would call themselves that because a lot of them were really shitty at the job. Not everybody actually knew English the way that I did. I just so happened to have a degree in it, but I was also a writer, so I had an expressed interest beyond my degree, and I also practiced that, right? But then also on the flip side, I came from a family of educators, so I knew an awful lot about education previously, like, most of my family members were in high education or high levels, like in government and stuff. So I was just really exposed to a lot of things. And then also I took some education courses before I, took the job that I was going to be doing. And so I just so happened to have a lot of knowledge about teaching that made me naturally more skilled at it than my my coworkers. And a lot of my coworkers, they really were English clowns. They just kind of went into the class and sang songs to the children. But, that had nothing to do with me. But I went around calling myself an English clown. And so you can see how, because I took on a label, I could identify and resonate with my coworkers to some degree. And so because I devalued the concept of me being a teacher, I would just devalue the whole thing. Meanwhile, I'm one of the great ones. I would do seminars and stuff like that. And I had impact in the school systems that I worked in. I had impact in the community. I went on to direct musicals and, a musical for that year, and had a huge impact on that. Expanded the budget because it's a bilingual musical, and the way they were doing it before was just, it was not something that adults could enjoy. But again, not these people. I went to a performing arts school. I'm a performer by nature. I played the flute at a high level. So performer by nature. There's just things that I understand about theater and art that a lot of these people didn't. Skills, right? And so applying those skills in every place that I went, I ended up greatly impacting in positive ways a lot of those places. But that's because I approached everything as the artist, solving how do I think, how do I solve problems, and also how do I express myself, which means how do you express yourself in any and every situation in order not only to be seen and to be heard, but also to reflect back to the listening party that they are seen and they are heard. All of these things. And are we solving a problem? Are we collaborating? Sometimes problems aren't actually issues. They're just obstacles or things that need resolving before we move forward. So maybe I want to, I need to have some tea and before I start class. Would you call that a problem? No, it's just something you need to do before you move forward, right? So making tea. Does that mean that making tea, like, I'm an artist, I poured my tea like an artist? Of course, maybe not. But do we want to deny the act of creating, going and getting and making tea is not an art form simply because it doesn't look fancy? Just because you are not a highly paid art courtesan, I don't know what we call the people who do the tea arts, you know what I'm saying? Just because you're not pouring tea for the fucking emperor doesn't mean that it is not a creative endeavor and that you are not doing an act of creativity. Right? You're literally doing chemistry by adding water to tea to change, it's low chemistry, but you see what I'm saying? You're doing alchemy. You are taking something material and something liquid, putting them together to create a whole new substance that you're going to ingest. And for me, it's green tea, which is great for like clarity and stuff like that. I'm going to ingest that. It's going to change my body chemistry a little bit, help me do X, Y, and Z. That is alchemy in your everyday. When you stop to recognize those things in the everyday, which is what we're going to talk about here with the Artist Way, when you stop to recognize and value each and every aspect of life, your life will change. Your life will change. Now, I'm not here to tell you what aesthetic to bring out. I'm not here to tell you what kind of artist to be, or, what makes a good artist and what makes a bad artist. That's what makes a good artist is one who values their art and their ability to create art. What makes a bad artist is one that does bad stuff. By that, I just mean they devalue their ability to create art. They deny it because at that point you are going against yourself, and that it inherently feels bad. It feels negative. Is that still art? Yeah. Do you know how poetic it is to watch somebody crash out hard, explode after failing to do what they set out to do? Icarus was beautiful as he fell from the sky, his wings ablaze like a shooting star, a dream come crashing down. Oh, Icarus. We talk about Icarus all the time. You ever see those painters paint Icarus? Was he a fallen angel or what? Yeah, Icarus was somebody who fucked up. He was doing a bad job at whatever he was trying to do. That being said, there's a whole story about it that we won't get into. I do in the Cosmos class. It was fun. Anyways, but Icarus, my point is that just because you choose to do things that feel bad doesn't mean that you are not creative and you're not creating. You're just creating something that feels bad. So the sooner that we recognize that you are an artist, the more you can be a good artist doing art that makes you feel good. Now, does art that makes you feel bad benefit others? Yes. Are some of those benefits negative? Yes. Are some of those benefits positive? Do other people, can they learn from watching you fail? Yes. Can other people be negatively impacted and harmed by your failures to do what feels good for you? Yes. That's why the universe is like, do what you want. If you're either way, we're going to arrive. Either way, you will have lived a life. How you live that life is up to you. And isn't that a mighty charge, right? So the artist way. It's about the fact that you were born into this world. You had a mighty charge. How are you going to live this life? How are you going to live this life? And you said, watch and see. Watch me. Watch me. And so who's watching you? Yourself, the multiple different aspects and versions of you. We call it the higher self, right? The version of you who said, I'm going to go live this life. You know exactly how it feels to be you. You know what it feels like when you're in tune of you. You know all of those things when you feel safe. So one of the first things we want to talk about with the Artist Way is week 1 is about recovering a sense of safety. When you feel safe, then you can be creative. When you feel safe, you know that you are connected to yourself, something bigger than you. You know that you are connected to all other people around you. You feel safe enough to ask questions. You feel safe enough to breathe full breaths in and out. You feel safe enough to be wrong. You feel safe enough to be right. In fact, you don't care about being wrong or right. You care about seeing how this impacts this. You just have a question and you want to discover the answer. So recovering a sense of safety. Without safety, you will consistently be in survival mode. And at that point, because you do not feel safe, you do not feel good, what kind of art do you think you are creating? It's going to be the kind of art that feels bad. Now, the kind of art that feels bad looks like staying up way too late. The kind of art that feels bad is like eating the wrong foods. It's worrying senselessly about something that is not within your active control. In other words, if you're holding a pair of sharp scissors and you are afraid that you're going to drop them and chop off your big toe, can you change how you're holding those scissors? Yes, you can change it. There you go. There you go. I do that all the time. I'm that person that's like, as soon as I pick up a knife, my mind flashes 1,000 different ways how this can be used to murder somebody in any instance, accidentally. So it's like, oh God, oh God, I'm the only one in the kitchen. But what if someone came running in and then they like bump into me and then this, like my mind's doing all of that. And it's like, okay, can we change something to make ourselves feel better instead of thinking about all the ways in which, how the fun ways we could die. Like, do we have to think about that? No, I'll just put it down since I'm not using it. Or if I am using it, maybe I'll announce, hey, I'm cutting in here. So if you're going to be in the kitchen, please be mindful. I let my kids know that, things like that. So that way I'm not panicking, right? Oh man, my kid, he uses a pencil. He likes to sharpen his pencil all the time. And so we'll pause and I'm doing a little lecture and then him with the pencil and he's just standing there, a little pointy ends right by his eye. And I'm like, can you put the pencil down? He's like, I am in full control of my body. I am not about to stab myself. And I'm like, that's great and everything, but it's distracting me. Because while I have full confidence that you won't stab yourself, I can't stop the incessant messaging that there is a sharp, pointy thing at my sweet one's little eyeball and all of the ways in which you could lose an eye. And I would rather not think about those things. And then he'll be like, oh yeah, let me just do something else, which is fine, right? So the thing is that when we are in control of what worries us, then we can take direct action to shift that, right? What about things like, oh my God, am I doing a good enough job? Will 20 years from now, will I regret Will I regret having spent the last 5 years working on this thing when I could be doing something different? In 20 years from now, the whole industry will be changed, and the job that I'm working in is obsolete now. What could I learn right now to help me 20 years from now so that I'm not obsolete, so that I can still maintain? That is not something you can control. You don't even know what's happening 10 minutes from now, let alone 20 minutes from now, let alone 20 years from now. So trying to figure out what you should do now to help set yourself up for success 20 years from now. No, people do that when they're trying to put you on a trajectory that is man-made. So for instance, that was probably taught to you as a child when you were taught in college. How do you figure out, or in high school, how do you figure out what you want to do with your life? Well, what do you want to happen to you 20 years from now? Now, a bunch of millennials, man, they'll tell you all day. You can't go by a millennial who's got school debt without having to listen to them tell you how everything they learned was trash. Nothing mattered. And even though they're smarter than everyone else in their office, they still get paid less and no one listens to them. So it's not about going on a trajectory, because if you do this one thing now, then you will be set up 20 years from now. That's not how that works unless you're on someone's plantation and you have the right features and the right behaviors to be able to progress at that plantation. And I just mean company. You know what I'm saying? If you have all the right things that check off all the right boxes for you to be there, it'll go well for you. A lot of people don't have that. Do you have to feel guilty, X, Y, and Z? No, but you should pay attention to what systems you play into. Some systems are net neutral, meaning you collaborate with people, you guys get along. Not everybody's going to get along with you guys. Some systems are net negative, meaning they combine and they are only brought together based off of some systematic hierarchy in order to exclude others and include some. And that's, based off of something that has nothing to do with the project or the general disposition of the people, character-wise. It's something usually external and shallow that people, isms, etc. So, if you're working in companies and all this kind of stuff, it's easy to put forward a trajectory and plan 5, 10, 15 years from now. But even then, and all you have to do is listen to the harrowing stories of everyone today, that's not always going to work out, and that's not always the case. So then the question is, how do you work towards the future if you can't plan for a future? And how on earth are you supposed to stop worrying enough to feel safe so that you can do such a thing? Okay. So number one, I'm going to pause for a second and let everybody know in class, I do have an introductory and this PDF that I have for you guys. It's just kind of like a glance over. Feel free anytime to come back to any of these exercises. Establishing a safe space, it's going to be one of them. Building trust in creative process is another exercise. And then we've got strengthening supportive networks. So when you need support, like in the morning pages, I have about 3 different exercises there, and so on for the artist dates. If you feel stuck throughout the week, feel free to just peruse through this and see if any of the exercises help unblock you. Otherwise, this is just a briefing of like some big ideas and some exercises. So this will just kind of keep me in general in the motion of where we're going. But I just want to let you guys know that that's what this PDF is for. Not huge on delivering tons and tons of info, but just like to help you get stuck or unstuck when you feel like you're a bit stuck. And we're going to talk a lot more about that too when we get to the morning page section. Okay, have to take a little break and breathe. Okay, let me stop. Now, when I start talking, man, it's like there's so much to say, I have no time to breathe. So the question that we left off with, right, is how do we plan for the future without planning for the future, right? How can we be successful at something like the future without planning for it? And then how do you get to a point of feeling safe when you have so many worries? When your worries seem very rational, like, again, how do you plan for a future if planning for a future doesn't work out? The artist way. Sounds like we have a problem that creativity can help us solve. Oh, and so I want you to take this as a lesson. This is my first part, right? Is whenever you are worried about something, recognize that you are looking at a problem, and there is no way that you can solve that problem if you are worried about the problem. So you have to feel safe first to be able to get into the creative process of solving your problem. So this leads me to answer the initial question that I just posed, which is how can you be successful in the future when you can't plan for it? You build up the value in your resources, which the only way to build value in your resources is to acknowledge, be responsible for them, identify them, have agency and autonomy. So in other words, use your resources, and that in itself builds value in them because you are placing value in them when you use, identify, acknowledge, and take responsibility for your skills. The artist way. So hello, sorry everybody in class, but hello TikTok. Just because a lot of you are new in here, just over the last few minutes, is this is a class, the Midnight Scholar Society. So my newsletter, you can always join the newsletter, but paid members have classes and book club. And so this next 12 weeks, we're doing the artist way. Learning how creativity is your life force, 1, and 2, how to go from being uninspired to inspired to being the creative that you are so that you can actually live your life. Because creativity has less to do with the fine arts as much as it does have to do with how do you think, how do you solve problems, and how do you express yourself. Those are 3 things that every single human being have. You all need to think, to solve problems, and self-express, right? Self-expressing helps you express your problem or express the solutions for your problem or apply the solutions, and thinking gives you the space to confront and interact with any problems that you're having. And one of the main problems that everybody has in life is, what is my path? Who am I? And how can I be successful at whatever that is if I cannot plan for it? Because I don't even know what it is, 1. Or 2, I want to plan for it, but the future is unplannable. You can't plan for the future. That's crazy. That's like saying you can plan for how someone's going to impact you tomorrow. You have no idea whatsoever. So how can you? You have to recognize that when you are a safe person for yourself, you can solve every problem that is in front of you. And by simply just accepting that you can solve every problem that's in front of you, do you have to solve problems that aren't in front of you because they're 20 years down the line, or just the one in front of you right here, right now, today? That's the step-by-step work, is placing your attention on right now. You can do it with the intent to be successful. That's all you have to do. I aim, which is an intention, I aim towards, set your target, my success. What is that? Let it be a feeling. Success is a feeling, not an outcome. It's a feeling. I will do, I'm going to put up a guided meditation for you all. It's for everyone in class, it's agape. We have the agape meditation, which is just how you get into your divine unity. How do you experience nirvana? Nirvana, listen to me. I'm watching a documentary on cults. And when I tell you all, please, let me be the first person to tell you. There is no gatekeeping on spirituality. You are a spiritual person. You have probably experienced nirvana many different times in your life. You just did not have the word for it. And because it's so mundane to you, you would not think it a spiritual experience, simply because most of us have been taught that spiritual experiences are these high levels of bliss, and you have to be so enlightened and so wise and so this and in so many years to, and no, all that stuff's bull. So all you got to do is just be sitting with yourself, relaxed, and happy in the moment. There, nirvana. I have given it to you. If you can recognize a moment in your time where you were relaxed, you were in your body, experiencing in real time something that you were doing or engaged with, you were in nirvana. How mundane. Isn't it nice that it's mundane? Means that it's achievable. So if you've ever experienced that, you are on your way to experiencing it, not just once in a while or when you make that time to do that thing you really enjoy. So you stop chasing nirvana. People who chase it and chase it really hard get into hard drugs generally. So instead of chasing nirvana, you just bring yourself to it every day. Just decide that that's how you're going to live your life from that place. What that is for you is so unique that no one else could ever express it, tell it to you, make an aesthetic board or a vision board towards it. No one could ever express what that is except for you. So that's why I say first is finding value in your resources. Who are you and what do you have? What skills do you have? Go look at those skills. Go acknowledge them. I was telling everybody at the very beginning, I went around calling myself an English clown. I wasn't acknowledging my teaching skills. And, here I am, I teach. Can you imagine I still call myself an English clown and we wouldn't be here? We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you. I might be, who knows where I'd be. Because that's obviously making some really interesting choices, you know what I mean? To not grow and not to see myself. So maybe my life would not be the way that it is. Maybe I would be miserable. And if I'm miserable, everything in my life would be destroyed and ruined because I'm highly intelligent. You put a highly intelligent person in a negative state and you will see brilliant destruction. You put a highly intelligent person in a creative state and you just see them. Whatever that means. But you know what I'm saying? So the point that I'm making is when you devalue your own skills and your own abilities, you don't see them. When you don't see them, you are worried because you know that when a problem comes out, you don't have the skills and the ability to handle it. Meanwhile, those skills and abilities are sitting right in your back pocket. So when we are trying to plan anything in our lives, when you want to do anything in your life, do not look at an outcome. Do not try to plan for success. Plan to take inventory of who you are, because that is the person who's going to get you to where you are going. So if you know who you are, then when you get to any issue, is there any question on whether or not you will succeed? No, there's no question. You will succeed, because if you are, and you know who you are, and you take inventory of who you are, will you be able to recognize that you don't know something? Yeah. Yeah, because you're being yourself. And yourself in that moment goes, I don't know any of this shit. Which means you can go learn something new. Oh, wow. Solve that problem. So we just solved the problem of what happens when we become obsolete. What happens when what I know, I meet the limit of what I know. Then when you get there, you go, ooh, bitch don't know. Bitch does not know. I don't know. And what do we do when we don't know? We ask questions. We get new information and we start to study. And if it's something, and here's the next thing. What happens when you get to something you don't know and you're completely uninterested in it and it feels bad thinking about having to study it? You feel like it's going to pull you away from all these things that you love. Should you invest time and energy in this thing? Because this thing that's in front of you seems like it's not healthy for you. Maybe you can ask the question of, how can I invest time and energy in this in a way that I enjoy? And how now we're looking at new perspectives. But either way, you know who you are. So whatever problem comes up, you can solve it, because you can either get new information, get a new perspective, decide whether you want to do this thing or not. Some obstacles are meant to deter you on purpose because it's not what you want. It's just shiny. Sometimes an obstacle is meant to spin you around in circles for 5 minutes until it's your turn at the cue, the universal cue, the one that goes, you can't walk into that room until 5 minutes from now, because then that other person's going to be in there, hear you, and then you guys will connect and you will be on your way. So you get distracted by something, and then 5 minutes you're like, oh, what? Why am I even doing this? This is so frustrating. You know what? I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. And then you walk into the room, and then divine timing. Yeah, look at that. It's not always a case of I need to know in the moment, or, oh man, I fucked up. I spent 5 minutes trying to figure out something that I didn't even like. No, stop punishing yourselves. Stop punishing yourselves. Just be okay. I need more people to read children's literature. Honestly, I am always in awe, and my heart is always opened up 10 times fold every time. I'm either experiencing something with my kids as a kid viewer, right? When I feel like I'm not whimsical enough, where the kid stuff feels like gimmicky, I know, I need to like sit down and pay attention and allow the whimsy, allow my suspension of belief to take over, because why are these kids finding this fun and explorative and this and that? And I feel like I'm too old for it, or I feel like it's not landing for me. Like, clearly I need to like get back into my feeling body in some way and experience it, and instead of feeling like the mundane world has gotten a hold of me. So the point that I'm making though with that is that children's literature does a really great job of helping people understand that you aren't a bad person because you make mistakes or it takes you a while to get the answer. Can you imagine if any children's media or children's books were like, you dumb kid, you haven't figured it out yet? Can you imagine? We'd all be worse off than we are. You know what I'm saying? No, these books are all about showing kids how they are brave enough to ask the question, brave enough to go on the adventure, brave enough to just show up and try, brave enough to fail, brave enough to get up and learn from that failure and turn it into a success, brave enough to meet the world, brave enough to do it alone, brave enough to do it with others. Because yes, sometimes you have to be brave to do it with others. Sometimes you have to be brave to know when to walk away from doing it with others, to walk away from doing it by yourself and to join others, right? There's so many stories about that in children's literature that really shows you that you too can be a hero, even if you don't have strong skill sets in some of these areas, because you can build them. You can just build your skills up. And as long as you are building something, you are not a problem. You are growing and you are learning. And as long as you are growing and learning, you are taking responsibility, you're holding yourself accountable, and you practice autonomy and agency in that, you're doing it with integrity, right? And so as adults, we obviously have to do it with integrity. Children are a little weak-kneed. You know what I mean? They don't have enough experience in life to be solid all on their own. So sometimes they need guidance. But as adults, we have to be the guidance for our own inner child. Because as an adult, you have to be a safe person in your own community because you are a creative force in the world. Either you are doing it with some type of aim and in a way that is beneficial for you and others around you, or you're doing it in some other fucking way. But either way, you are creating impact, you are creating all sorts of things in this world. Nightmares, dreams, you're creating delusions that you throw people into accidentally. You're creating things all the time. There is no, I'm not. I don't care if you spend all your life inside of a box in your house. You, by not leaving the box or the house, are creating a type of dimension where the version of you that lives in the box is not in the world expressing. Maybe that's a positive thing. Maybe it's a negative thing. Maybe it's a mixed bag day to day. The point that I'm making is that your presence in the world, your existence is an act of creation and you are creating consistently. And when you recognize that you are coming in contact with other people all the time, and when you choose not to speak, when you choose not to use your voice, it is just as impactful as when you do choose to speak and you do choose to use your voice. It's about knowing and having the intent and being brave enough to make those choices, which means you have to be brave enough to be your own safety first. You must be your own safety. So this is one of the things also, huge point. This will save you from being scammed by all sorts of weird people, whether you give them money or not. Anyone who would ever suggest that you are not safe or capable of making your own choices or decisions is someone enacting control over your life. Most people do this out of love. Okay, I won't say most, but most that I've experienced do it out of love. I literally had that experience. Me and my partner, we go through that occasionally. Anytime one of us is sick, man, we've really had to face those things over the years. But anytime one of us is sick, the other one immediately thinks about, oh my God, if I have to live a day in this world where they're not here, and it was my fault because I didn't suggest this, I didn't say this, I didn't see them and say, I'm concerned, I think you should go and get checked out. If I don't say those things and then they end up dead the next day, I will know that was me. That was my fault. I created this world where I am now alone and they are no longer here. And you know what I'm saying? And the other person's just... Meanwhile, one of us is in Victorian fucking mode thinking, gotta get them to a hospital ASAP because I can't live with myself knowing that I should have just piled some extra tea on drink the green tea. It'll lower your inflammation, even though this person hates it. You know, X, Y, and Z. Now, what is the other person experiencing, right? The other person is experiencing being told that they are not an adult, that they don't know their own body, they don't know their own experiences, that they are miscalculating their true ability to calculate their health and assess themselves. They're also hearing that whatever choices they make and how they interact with the medical field is about to be disregarded. And as I can tell you this, as a Black woman, I know when to go and when not to go into a hospital or into a clinic, because I need to know and need to have a full understanding and assessment of myself so that nothing bad happens to me. Because the way in which bad things happen, it's not just because someone is inherently like, I don't like the dark ones. That's rarely the case. Usually the case is this person has made an assumption that this person may not be informed. This person may not have access. Do you know how many white, well-meaning doctors look at me and go, you know, she probably came from an underrepresented neighborhood because she didn't have access, because white supremacy is so high, and because of all these things, X, Y, and Z. So I have to be the one who knows everything and to take care of her fully. And that means that I have to bypass the things that she says because she's not a doctor. She didn't have the ability to go to school and get an education like me. So she doesn't know all the stuff. So I have to be the one who knows all the stuff for her. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, I think I just have an ear infection. You know, I tend to get swimmer's ear sometimes, and anytime I spend too much time in the water, you know, I'm risking it. They heard nothing. Yeah, and I'm being honest, y'all. I went to the hospital with a virus, and they were trying to test me for some strange African disease, and I was like, I haven't been to Africa, and I don't even have friends in the state that, let alone people that have traveled, that I like interact with, that I know deep enough, X, Y, and Z. And also, I haven't even left the house really over the past like month because I've been writing, and I had a book that I had to turn in, and this, that, and the other. So I've been like, you know, I'm talking about, I'm stressed. And also I've had, you know, I was using my earbuds a lot. So perhaps that caused a problem bypassing all of that. And they're like, we need to do a spinal tap because they wanted to take care of me so badly. They were about to do a lot of racisms. They're about to make my life miserable and possibly alter my health for the rest of my life, you know, with a bad back tap. So thing is that most people don't commit crimes against you because they hate you. It's oftentimes because they're making assumptions based on their own worries and fears. So, do you want to live your life allowing other people to do that? Or do you want to be sovereign over yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to be my own safety. If I feel like something's wrong in my body, I'm going to take control and say, what's wrong with my body? Let me feel it. Let me go read. Let me learn. Instead of being so afraid I need someone else to figure it out. And I don't know. No, you got to be safe in yourself. Does that mean that you don't use someone? We already talked about it. Sometimes being brave means knowing when to co-collaborate with other people. Being brave is knowing when to collaborate with yourself, when to be with yourself, to assess yourself, whether that be your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your mental body. How do you know yourself? So, and then when do you co-collaborate when you have a blind side or something that you don't know? When you think, solve problems, and express yourself, you are being a creative being, and inherently you are the safe space for you. So you will always be safe. Because I'll tell you this to get it out of the way, one day you'll die. There you go. When is that day going to be? None of us really know. Some people figure it out right before it happens. Some people, it's a boop, it's a surprise. Either you can live every day thinking about that day, trying to figure out how to thwart that day, and you will spend all of your days thinking about how you're going to die one day, and that's how you will thwart your life until that day happens, right? That's how you will spend your days until that day happens. Or you can spend your life understanding that one day you're going to die. And so you don't have time to be fucking around, not knowing who you are, what you think, and how to express yourself, and also how to solve the problems that come up. If sometimes your problems are going to come up in your life, and other people are going to be like, okay, I'll get around to that, but maybe next month. And you need that problem solved by the end of the week. Are you just going to wait around for somebody and wait past the date of when you need something done? Or are you going to have to now take matters into your own hand? And then, of course, it's like, well, what does that mean? Right? But first we just simply have to acknowledge it. And that's it. When you acknowledge that you have a problem, when you acknowledge that you can be strong enough and you are brave enough and you are wise enough now to confront it, not to solve it, but to confront the problem, then you will grow to be the one who solves it. And what that solution looks like, you'll discover it once it's done. You will look back and understand you. You will look back and understand. So that's the main issue. That's the main thing when it comes to feeling safe in your own body, and feeling and recovering a sense of safety, is to recognize that, like, you can be safe. Safety isn't having experienced something. It's not something that is inherent, right? Look at any codependencies you have in your relationship and list down the things that you feel like you need that other person for, and then go out and cultivate that in yourself. It is not because then you won't need that other person. No, now you'll just be able to enjoy them. Instead of needing and using them, you can just enjoy who they are. If you don't enjoy who they are and you're using somebody, I can't help you there. That's therapy and shadow work, and that's what the morning pages will help us with, discovering and recognizing those things, right? But that's that's having to confront and to look at the different ways in which you were hiding from yourself, wanting to be a hero and yet doing villainous things, but recognizing that and seeing the mistakes in that, and then and then coming back from it. How do I do something different? That is redemption, and that is the hero's journey. We are all redeeming ourselves from something at some point in time. None of us is, your whole life is about redemption in some cultures. In some cultures, when you are reincarnated, it is to redeem yourself in this life from your last one. So, we just have to figure out, what does that mean for you? And then just go and explore the world from that lens and be brave enough to do that. You are safe. You are safe. Even in the face of danger, you are safe. I feel like too, I just want to say this, anime can be a great space. It can also be a landmine depending on the content, honestly. But there's a lot of, I always recommend Ghibli because it's a safe recommend. But Mononoke Hime, Princess Mononoke, is a Ghibli film about a man who is from an eastern village, okay? His people are they're very isolated, and they're also very magical people. And this boar comes rushing through their forest. It's riddled with some type of disease. It's been apparently shot with an iron ball, so this is the invent of the gun. And gunpowder and all that kind of stuff, gun warfare. This boar god from the forest has been shot, and he comes through racing through the village, and he attacks this young man. His name's Ashitaka. They attacks him on his arm, just grips it. You know what I mean? And he eventually kills the boar, and then they pray to everyone in the village comes out because they're like, what travesty is this? And he's rubbing dirt on his arm, even though this thing is dead. His arm burns. And it turns out, the very beginning, this is not even spoilers, this is the first 5 minutes of the movie, bro has to cut off his top knot. He can't be in the village anymore because he's literally touched by a fucking disease that will ravage his entire body, turn him into a rageful monster. And so he seeks to go to the west to figure out where this came from so that he can understand the hate that has now been put into his heart. He was the prince of this village, and they lost him. He had to leave immediately. It was the only person who was brave enough to break the rules in that moment was his sister, who came out. Everybody else in the village, it was quiet, and she ran out because she just needed to say goodbye because she was never going to see him again. In an instant, his whole life was changed. In an instant. I remember watching this when I was 13, and I was so moved by it because in that moment, that was the rage. But did he express it outward? No, he contained it. And throughout the entire movie, time and time again, he is met with atrocity after atrocity. He even has to commit atrocity in order to save others. He's having to do so much to just because he just so happened to be the wrong place, the wrong time to save the people that he loved. And through all of this, he is containing that rage. And if you ever want to know what it looks like to be strong and safe in the face of adversity, then you understand that even in the face of danger, you are safe. Are you guaranteed life? That's the question. Are you guaranteed happiness in that moment? Are you guaranteed anything in that moment? No, but you can choose to be the safety in that moment, no matter what comes next, because that is a statement in itself. So when you understand that you are safety, you are the safety that you need in the world, that you want in the world, nobody else is going to give that to you. That's the moment that you take your life into your own hands, and you honestly, you become one of the most biggest, baddest bitches there's ever been. Listen, I've lived like that my whole life. I told people I have been willing to fight other people in the streets over the safety of children, strangers who were on drugs in New York. Okay, I am not one to play. I've jumped into a river to save children before. I normally don't talk about that. I've also ran up on a geese and slipped and fell and embarrassed myself. So, it's not like I am all, oh, I'm so like amazing over here. No, things happen too. And I am also one of the scariest people you ever know. I'll be like, no, I'm not going down that dark alley. No, I'm not doing these things. I'm not doing that thing. Because when you become a safe person, funny enough, you end up not in fucked up, crazy ass, dangerous situations. A lot of people think I can't believe that I'm totally safe, because what if unsafe things happen to me? And then end up in unsafe situations to validate the idea that they can't be safe. It's like, yes, the universe will give you exactly what you asked for. If you go around thinking you can't be safe, you will be in situations that you deem not safe. The movie was Princess Mononoke from Ghibli. So if you deem that you are safe, then you become the safety other people run to. You become the safety that other people run to. And from there, magic happens. You get what I'm saying? So that's recovering a sense of safety is just honestly, that's an unlock right there, or a download if you were just listening. You don't really have, now you just have to go out into your life and discover what I've just said. Discover how when you feel safe, what's going on around you. Danger, terrible things. When you don't feel safe, do you want to stay and then force yourself to feel safe? Or do you want to leave and go to a place of safety so that you can feel safe? Because safety acts as a mechanism. It tells you where not to go and also where to go, which honestly, if I'm going to be totally honest, I'm really glad this class is coming out right now, because the year that we're walking into is a year in which you need to understand when you are safe and when you do not feel safe. You need to understand that you can be the safety that other people run to, but not if you choose to stay or choose to invite into your life dangerous situations. Choosing to go to danger is choosing to feel at some point in time like you were in control of everything around you. Being the safe person and being safe no matter what's going on around you is being in control of yourself, not external situations. You can be safe in your inner world no matter what's going on in front of you, but that doesn't mean that everyone around you is safe. Just because you are, that also doesn't mean that the situation that you're in is safe for others or yourself in general. It just means that in that moment, you can recognize, because I am safety, I recognize what isn't safe. Because I am safe, I recognize in my body how it feels, what I'm seeing, how I think, what information, I'm recognizing what's not safe. I can either point it out and go in the opposite direction or just go in the opposite direction, depends on what's happening, right? But when I feel safe, I then can solve the problems that are in front of me. So I can spot and acknowledge and see what isn't safe, what is also safe, and go accordingly, act accordingly, express myself accordingly. So I say this, I used to know a lot of people who, because they were in a lot of traumatic situations, they always felt like they were the safe person in trauma. And I went to be like, well, if you're always in traumatic situations, consistently living in traumatic situations, you're not the safe person, you're the person calling chaos. Because in order to feel in control, this person has to have everyone out of control so that they can be the skilled person in chaos. When everyone else is failing and drowning, and I'm used to flailing around and drowning, I'm the more skilled person. So of all of us dumb motherfuckers in the room, I am the most smartest. That is not a place you want to be. That is not a place you want to be. I always tell people I never want to be the smartest person in the room. honestly, because if I feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, one, I'm ignoring everyone else's competencies. Just because I'm competent in one area doesn't mean I'm competent in all areas of life. And also, because if I'm the smartest person in the room, where are we going from here? Where am I going from here? You know what I mean? We're in decay mode. You know what I'm saying? So it's about recognizing that just because I can be safe in safety, which means that I can recognize what is safe and what is not safe, simply because in my body it comes up. So, I will always say this, and I've navigated my whole life this way. Intuition isn't so much that you get secret information before everyone else does. It means that when you're at a party, right, and someone walks into the room and you notice them and you go, I don't know why I'm like drawn to that person, but whatever, and then you go back to what you're doing. And then that person does something interesting. They lean over someone on the wall and that person kind of like laughs and is leaning away, and no one else notices this happening, but you do. You now recognize the unsafe person in the room because they're eking out this energy that you're picking up on. Does that mean that like a terrible event is going to happen later? Or does that mean a terrible event is going to happen to that person? Who knows? But you've just recognized what isn't safe. Now, if a bunch of people think that this person's the best person in the world and you're seeing that they're an unsafe person, now this person's pulling out all sorts of hard drugs and telling everybody, no, it's great. And you're sitting there like, I just saw this person low-key kind of assault somebody with their energy. Is this person somebody that everybody should be taking drugs? And everybody's taking drugs and then, wow, you know what I'm saying? Do you then have to go and lecture people about how this person's unsafe, etc.? No. You can just get up and leave. Everyone else is making their own choice, but so can you. And oftentimes, the choice that you make leaves a lasting impression on everyone else. If everybody knows, when someone leaves the room, I need to go. Because everybody's got that person, right? Their temperature tester. When that person's no longer around, I leave. The fun has left, so I'm leaving. Sometimes it's the gauge of fun. Sometimes people have people that when that person leaves, they leave because, that person's the only person that brings fun around and everyone else is boring. So that's the same thing. Your intuition. It's no longer safe for me here. I'll get too bored. Which, I know that sounds funny, but boredom, honestly, what do people do in boredom? A lot, anything to get out of it. That is an unsafe place to be. You know what I mean? If you know that you react to boredom that way, I do. Not everybody reacts to boredom like that. That's my Gemini Mars. I just be like, I'll do anything to get out of this. Like, I can't sit here and be bored. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not that bad. I used to be. But my point is that when you are safe with yourself, then you can create the world in which you wish to live in. And if you wish to live in safety, then you can remove yourself. And you'll know how, because you'll know how to properly express yourself in the moment. Why? Because you feel safe enough to think of a solution to express. When your cortisol levels are off the fucking charts, you don't feel safe enough to think of a solution to express. When your cortisol levels are up here and you're like, oh my God, and you're thinking up here, but you're not feeling anything, and you're thinking and you're like, you're zoned in. No, you're not really thinking of solutions. You're, this is a rumination space. The thinking that I'm responding to is the one where you ask questions. The one where you ask questions. Are you asking questions so that way a solution can come to you, so then you know how to express yourself? A student earlier mentioned this, that, ChatGPT had shown them. Let me scroll up really quick. Oh, where's the line? Oh, y'all are talking in class, I can see. So the ChatGPT keeps telling me the fact that I'm even asking all of these questions is a reflection that that she's growing, even if she doesn't feel like it. So anytime she asks a new question to ChatGPT and she's like, what if I'm not growing this or that? ChatGPT is like, the fact that you asked me this question means that you are in a growth state. So the thinking that I'm talking about is questions you ask. When you see a problem, you ask a question so that the solution can present itself to you, not so that you can figure it out. If you're trying to figure something out, you're not asking questions. Nine times out of 10, you're trying to put together pieces on a puzzle instead of asking the question and allowing an answer to come. An answer will come in many different forms. If it's the party that I'm talking about, where someone's uncomfortable with the energy that someone else is putting out, and you go, is this person sus, or is it just me? That's enough. That's a question. Okay? You can ask yourself that. And then if that person then turns around and says, a fucking inappropriate joke that like borderlines on something that you just are like, no, maybe it's a consent joke. No, this person definitely does not respect anybody's boundaries. They're a problem. If you then turn around and ask the universe, is it just me? Then the universe is probably just going to fucking ignore you because it already sent you an answer. And so the answer that you wanted to receive came right there. Right there. Or maybe the answer, here's another way in which answers sometimes come up that are a little less obvious, right? Same party, same situation. You're looking at this person making inappropriate movements to someone and you're like, is it just me? Or is this person a problem? So you're asking yourself, am I reading this wrong because I feel unsafe, but am I projecting something onto the situation? Or is it in fact that I was safe 2 seconds ago and I'm now identifying something that isn't safe? So we throw that question out there. And then this person, they kind of disappear from your eyesight for a while. You're in a conversation and all of a sudden somebody brings up this horror film. And you don't like it. You don't even like horror genres. Or maybe you do X, Y, and Z, but it's about pushing boundaries and the psychological effects of pushing boundaries and how it comes up and how it's displayed, blah, blah, blah. Or someone starts talking about somebody in politics and how they've crossed all these boundaries and how they've done these criminal activities and these horrible things coming up. And 5 minutes ago, we were all talking about cute little video games and cozy games and shit. And this is all of a sudden turned into a true crime conversation. Sometimes that's your answer. Is true crime generally a genre in which people feel safe or unsafe? The frequency of the conversation shifted to answer your question. Divine energy is like that. You are a radio receiver, okay? And I talk about this in astrology for the most part, or at least I will be probably on the Discord as I'm studying it and stuff. But I want you all to think about your connection with yourself as a radio. You all have a personal radio, a radio that just has your name on it. Mine says Francina's Jams. I don't fucking know, whatever. Okay, it's got my name on it. Anytime I turn that bit on, okay, it's tuned to maybe just my frequency. And then if I ask a question, the radio shifts itself. You all see Transformers and Bumblebee and how he talks using music. And he's like, Bop, he changes the station so that he can give a message out. I want you to understand that the radio can sometimes be something internal, okay? You can listen and get messages that come to you this way. Sometimes the radio is external, meaning everything that can give off a frequency it's part of your radio. So sometimes messages come from people. Sometimes messages come from the environment itself. Sometimes messages come from the situation, how a situation plays out. Either way, messages are coming in and music is happening to you. If it's a person, it's obviously either something they're saying or doing, something that can be observed by that person. If it's an environment, how are you observing the environment? Is it cold all of a sudden? Does it feel isolating? Does it all of a sudden feel too small, too big? Do you feel like the environment is one in which you're in the center and everything is watching you from the outside? Ooh, you're starting to get chills, right? Starting to feel a little out of place. Starting to feel a little too small in a very big place or too big in a small place, confined. How do you feel? Or perhaps the environment is very big and open and warm. And there's light coming in. You're just at this party and you're like, wow, it's the most beautiful place you've ever been. It's outdoors. It's in a garden area. There's life all around you. Just sweet, lush nectar, life. Butterfly just came by. Yeah, this is a very serene environment, right? Are probably going to feel the serene energy, the frequency. The environment is telling you something. You are in a serene place. If you don't feel serene and the environment around you is serene, isn't something off? Perhaps the thing that's off is you. Why aren't you in the environment? Why aren't you feeling the serenity of the environment? Oh, it's because I keep thinking about that guy and that thing that he said. Oh, my light went off. Boo. Right? Oh, I keep thinking about that guy and the way that he made that other person feel so uncomfortable. Okay, well, that's enough of an answer. There you go. The environment is serene. You were serene. You are safe. However, your attention keeps going to something that's not safe. And so now, because we're asking ourselves questions, right? That's the kind of thinking that we're doing. And we're getting a message back from the universe, right? This is the problem solving thing. You're not meant to solve problems. I keep saying this. I'm going to say it rougher to y'all. I said it real good to my kids. You know what I mean? So it's, but you know, like they're kids, so it's easy. I take the time out to think about that, but we got a lot to cover in a few more minutes. So I'm just going to say it in a mean way. If you're too stupid to see the solution right the fuck away, what makes you think you are smart enough to solve a problem by figuring it out in your head with your own thought, without any input from anything else? What makes you think without any input from something else that you will resolve this issue? There's got to be some type of input. Either you go internally and you go, is there anything that I already know that I can transfer? This is analogous thinking, right? We're going to use an analogy. Is there something I already know that I can apply to this situation to help me see the difference? And I will critique and compare and contrast to be able to see if I can understand this new thing with this old thing. That's going inward to get input, right? But you're not just tinkering and figuring out yourself. You're not ruminating. Oh, well, I'll do this, and then they'll do this, and then I'll do this, and that. That's leave that at the door. Apply some information that you already know to this. If you don't have that range, right, then you're either going to need new information that comes from a book, a situation, a story. When I say a book, what I'm saying is concentrated information about the topic. Okay, you can get that from media, whether it be books, movies, television shows, fiction, nonfiction, you know, figure that out for yourself, whatever you're looking for. Instruction from someone else, right? So a manual of some sort. You're going to need some type of input. And so what input do you go to get? Just allow the universe to do that. All you got to do is ask the question and all that shit pops up. I mean, it's so bad these days. You just type your question into Google and then go to YouTube and then see how the algorithm is like, oh, so we noticed that you were Googling this question, and so we want to pump content towards you about this to keep you on our platform. Use the platform against itself. Okay? Type your question into TikTok and then wait and see how many videos you start getting fed that resemble an answer of some sort. Or one of my favorite things to do, but I curate my TikTok in a very educational way, is if I have a question, I'll just go on TikTok and be like, okay, universe, just give me some clarity. And sometimes somebody will say bar for bar my problem and the answer, and I'll be like, damn, that was fast, thank you. You know, and I'll just be like, you know, I'm going to take a break really quick, go get a bagel or something like that, and I'm just going to open up TikTok and see if the answer is here. Oh, great, finished my bagel, and now I'm going to go sit down and finish doing what I was doing. Nice. I didn't even have to do any searching. Oh, how sweet. Somebody even gave me a book rack. Oh, let me go to my library, my Libby app, and see if I can pop that audiobook on. You see what I'm saying? It's really that simple. When I say that the universe will solve your problems, because your attention is what's doing it. And your attention is way more there's a lot more that's going on in the science of it that we will not get into that makes that happen at a frequency level. So anyways, so being safe, right? That's a huge one. Let's move down to building trust. Okay, so I'm covering a lot of these different things all at the same time. But so once you decide to be a safe person, right, you make that choice and you say, no matter what happens, no matter what the fuck happens from here till fucking kingdom come, I choose to feel safe. I am safety. So that way I can see what isn't safe and I can see what is safe and make that decision for myself. How do you build the trust to make that decision? Because I know a lot of y'all are probably like me. The moment I was like, okay, I choose the safety. And then I got to a situation where I felt like I didn't like what was happening. I was like, how can I trust myself? Like, bitch, I wouldn't be in this situation if it wasn't for you. And then I'd be like, oh, why'd you just call me that? You know, like I'm just arguing in my own head. Like, how am I to blame for being in this situation? Also, who are you blaming me? Is it me? Is it past me, future me? Oh my God, am I having an existential crisis? You know, that would be like on the worst day, right? But no, like I would have minor things where I didn't feel like I could trust my intuition. A very practical and more realistic example is as an author, right? I write books and I would turn a book into a publisher or something like that. And then I remember once the book was going to be published in the UK, and an editor assistant came back and she had a critique, a pretty big critique about a character, two characters, you know. She didn't like that my main character did something that wasn't likable. She was like, your readers won't like her then. Like, because this is a bad thing that she did. And I was like, yeah, she made a bad choice. Hence the tag on the front, mistakes were made. We have to see people make mistakes and then come back from them, right? Like, we have to see why she thought that making that mistake was a choice. And then she has to confront that and be like, that's not okay. Why did I think that that was okay? It's called emotional maturity, right? You know, and then, but you know, this is an editor. And I want them to carry my book. Do I make this change and allow this white woman to turn this book into something terrible? Oh my goodness, I knew she was reading way too many of those toxic romances. She was just one of those book girlies back in the day. But you know, it's that idea that the character has to be likable. It's a perception thing. It comes and it stems from white supremacy, which is why, you know, I mention it. I mention her race specifically. And it's, you know, I understand where she's coming from. That's the stuff that she reads. That's the stuff that she's been told that she has to be her entire life. She, you know, like, she's living by that. That's her current, that was a real fear she had, is they won't like her. And I like her. I like this character. I think that this is great, but like, she did this thing and other people are never going to accept her ever again. If they find out that she did this terrible thing, we have to just take it out. And I was like, girlie, get your hands off my book. That's a no for me. You know, but like, that's the point that I'm making is like, and for me, the question was, did I do the right thing? You know what I'm saying? Because also she understands that the readership, when it comes to market, right? A lot of readers do act and feel that way. So do I want to make money, and do I want the book to be likable, or do I want the book to be realistic? You know, does it need to be realistic is a real question. It's fiction. Does it need to be realistic? Can a girlie just be in it for the monies, you know? Or does a girlie have to be like, I'm just before my time? Like, it's a real choice to make. Which one is my intuition telling me to do? To make that coin and keep writing books? Like, you don't always have to be before your time. You can just show up and enjoy. You know, like, or should I, you know, keep my artist integrity? What do I do? The question isn't which one do we do. The question is what feels good and what feels bad. For some books and for some people, it feels good to just make the money. Right? Like, Stephen King is a master at this. He's got some money makers, and then he's got some things that, you know, he puts his integrity in, and he's got some things that he just did on snow. I think, what was it, Cujo, that has no chapters? It's just all from one to the end. It's just straight text. Yeah, that was a blow. That was a Christmas trip. He was deep in the snow on that one. So the question is like, what did he make a bad choice? I don't know. It's Cujo. It has a movie and it's huge and it's popular. Does he make is it just not caring and just doing, how do you make that choice? It's just about what feels good and what doesn't. In the moment, only you know that. And you'll know because you hesitate, or you really feel like constricted, and there's no release when it's bad. You make a choice and it's just, well, I'm just going to make a choice. And you just keep that choice tense, you know, you just got to make it. It's like not breathing. When you make a hard choice that feels good, you feel relief and worried that maybe it was the wrong choice or this or that. But either way, there's relief. There's relief. Worries come naturally if you were really high strung and really questioning your own intuition. But release is what comes. You feel your body releases because it feels safe. You chose a good thing. Your body's like, oh, this isn't the bad path. Yay, we're going down the good path. Release. But when you choose the bad thing, your body stays tense because you're facing tension and you're choosing tension. So it's about being in the body. You got to get into the body when you make your choices and decisions, and you make one towards safety. And when you do that, that naturally builds trust. There is nothing that you have to do except for trust yourself. Bashar, he's somebody, I think it's Daryl, I can't remember his last name, but he channels an entity called Bashar, right? Sorry, everybody who's at home. I'm getting a swig of water. Also, I might need to blow my nose. You guys are just going to have to ignore me. Okay. I'm going to talk too much. I get so, stuffy. Okay, so, Bashar, he said this, and I thought it was really clever. He's like, somebody said, how can I trust myself better? And he said, well, you're trusting now. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, you trust yourself not to trust yourself. Why don't you just trust to trust yourself and just do it? Like, you're trusting either way. Either you trust that you're wrong all the time, or you trust that you can trust yourself. But either way, you're trusting a process. So you might as well pick which process you're going to trust. Most of us think that most of us don't recognize that you have agency and autonomy. Even if you give your power to someone else, that is a choice. That is an active, agented choice to give your power to someone else. Another example that I want to give to this is, it's going to be a big one. So we're reading the Chronicles of Narnia at school. Not Midnight Scholar, but my kid, it's his English book for this like little quarter. And at the very beginning, if all of you know the Chronicles of Narnia, the witch, the wardrobe, the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe. There we go. Damn. At the beginning, there's a character, Mr. Tumnus, right? And by chapter 2, we know that Mr. Tumnus works for the White Witch, and he's a kidnapper. And he doesn't seem like a bad person, but like, bro. And he's like, he don't like it. He has to do it. Otherwise, this White Witch will either disfigure him or kill him. Okay? It's said in a little bit more cutesy language, put a spell on me. But what he means is she's going to torture me and kill me if I don't do the things that she wants me to do. So I was asking my kid, I was like, why doesn't he just quit? My kid's like, well, he has nowhere else to go. He can't. She'll like kill him. I was like, he could go far away. And he's like, well, Mr. Tumnus says that she has spies everywhere. And I'm sitting here like, not where Lucy lives. This girl just walked through a wardrobe. I don't think the White Witch got spies over there. I don't even think that anybody knows that this portal exists except for Lucy, right? So like, it seems like he just met somebody from a totally different dimension. Isn't even that an option? He could just run away to a different dimension. Like, he's not even picking up on this. And I asked him, I was like, do you know why? I was like, well, why do you think he doesn't pick up on these things? And it's canon. Mr. Thomas isn't very good at geography. What I'm telling you all this about, and what I'm telling you this for, is he's not good at geography. His mindset isn't expanded beyond his place where he currently lives. He's never been away from home, which means he doesn't know how big the world is, and he doesn't know that he literally can leave the White Witch's domain. She probably just runs a country, maybe, but he could go somewhere else. But what are some major things that people tell you when you want to make change? That you have to have some prerequisites, right? Before you can do anything, before you can trust yourself, you have to have proof that you've already done the thing that you're trying to trust yourself to do. So for in Mr. Tumnus's case, this is proof that he can escape. He needs proof that he can escape before he'll escape, right? Before he'll choose to leave or do something else. And that's not how that works. We don't get proof of it. We experience the difference. Expansion isn't you get proof. Lucy could tell him, I just walked through a wardrobe over there. I'm from 1942 England, not used to be London, but she's full of holes and shells now. Oh, London bombing. It was really bad, I don't even know if they have parents. Anyways, my point is, she could be like, you go over there. Mr. Thomas isn't going to walk through that wardrobe. He doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. And yet she just gave him proof. She just gave him proof of another life, another world. She is living embodiment proof of another life, another world. And yet he still won't leave, because it's about the experience that we have when we step out to expand our worldview, not just the expanse. The unknown is the unknown until you know it. So you have to step into it. Trust isn't about what you can prove. Trust is about what you experience with yourself. If you do something, if you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, and then you break that promise to yourself, you are teaching yourself that you make promises that you break. You also teach yourself it's okay for other people to make promises that they break towards you, because you go, oh, well, I know how it feels to have to make these promises and then not do them, even though it's just you be making promises and keeping them with everybody else. You just break yours, right? But you go, I know what it's like to make a promise and break it. So when someone sits there and does the thing that you don't do to them, they break promises to you. You don't break promises to them. You break promises with yourself, but not to them. You will excuse their behavior because you do it to yourself. Even though that's not what they did. They broke a promise to you. It's not the same thing. the relation should be them breaking a promise with themselves, right? I know what it's like to break a promise with myself, so I understand what it's like that you broke a promise with yourself. That's the place where you meet. That's the place where you can relate. That's the empathy. How many people confuse you broke a promise to me, and that's okay because I know what it's like to break a promise to myself? That's usually where a lot of fucked up communication comes in, is empathy that's a bit off. And it's because when you don't trust yourself, you're telling other people that you can be in a relationship with them even if they don't trust you, or they show you signs that you shouldn't trust them. Same thing with environments. You tell environments that I am not trustworthy, and also you probably aren't trustworthy. You walk into an environment that way. So when you do this with environments, situations, and people, I just want to tell you what happens when you don't trust yourself is you create environment, situations, and relationships with people where you make sure that you can't trust the choices that you're making. It needs to be really obvious. And what's dangerous is the more obvious it becomes, the more dangerous usually those situations become. And by dangerous, I just mean so far off the mark of where you want to land, because you're trying to prove to yourself that you can't trust yourself. So build trust instead. So if we're so good at doing the thing of, I can't trust myself, what's the harm that comes from trusting yourself? What if I'm wrong? You don't trust yourself and you're wrong all the time already. You don't trust yourself and you're wrong all the time already. So why don't you trust yourself and be wrong? Let that happen. Just trust yourself and let yourself be wrong. Well, then I'll just be really disappointed in myself. You're disappointed in yourself already. That's how you're already consistently. The fears that you have is the reality that you're living. So instead, do the opposite. Be not the opposite of do opposite crazy shit. Oh, instead of saying, no, I'm not going to drive 60, I'll just drive 60. That's the opposite. And we're not talking about opposite C's. I'm saying do the inverted. If you normally don't feel safe, start feeling safe. If you have to force yourself to feel safe in a very unsafe environment, then we have a lot more to unpack, right? Like perhaps the environment itself. Ask questions. Why don't I feel safe? Your attention will drag you to those things. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's, sometimes some of you have things that you are allergic to in your pantry, in your refrigerator. Maybe other people eat it or you don't. You are still ingesting it, even if it's just in your pantry, even if you don't eat it. And what I mean by that is if you aren't, if it's not carefully taken into consideration, X, Y, and Z, sometimes the smell of things permeates other things. And so therefore your environment is kind of toxic towards you. And so eventually, it's like The Sims, when their environmental points go down, eventually your environmental points go down. Down points means negative, not safe. Up points is safe and positive, So it's like if your environmental points are going down, you don't feel safe in your environment. And all of a sudden, you're anxious when you go to the kitchen. You're frustrated when you're in the bathroom. You're annoyed when you're at work. You just have these feelings, that emotional triggers that happen all the time because you can't trust your environment or a relationship that you're in or a situation that you're in. So you're more likely to be emotionally triggered by issues because issues are there. When you ask questions, why don't I feel safe? Those issues get highlighted. You face them. And then you make a choice to express yourself in a way that honors you and trusts your analyzing of the situation. If you ask a question and your attention goes ding, 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 it's that bitch Brenda. She's always writing them passive aggressive emails. That's why we can't stand it here. Your next step is to make a self-expression, to express yourself in a way that honors you. That could mean you no longer fucks with Brenda unless it's in an email. And you ignore unless it's important, you just don't give her the attention. You stop bending over backwards to be kind. You just treat her like every other Sally in the office, okay? Does that mean is Brenda going to be okay? There's another book rec I'm about to throw out, and it's Let Them Be, The Theory of Let Them by Mel Robbins. It's a book on emotional maturity. Let Brenda be in her feelings about your switch up. Let her feel how she feels. Let her talk shit. Let her do whatever she wants. You have identified something that doesn't make you feel safe and you no longer want to interact with it. You decide the appropriate way in which you do and you will and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes it comes to you pretty quick. You just trust yourself, trust the analysis, and move on. That's it. Just trust the analysis and then move on. And if you still feel the same way, maybe it wasn't Brenda, but we've at least isolated that. Is there something else? Do the same process, do the same process, do the same process. If nothing ever changes, then perhaps it is that you got, perhaps it's you. Perhaps it's you. And it's the way in which you are approaching all of this. Can you approach it differently? There you go. And if it's still a problem, perhaps this entire workplace and situation, do you want a different career? Do you even like working here? Do you even like the job that you're doing? If the answer is no, then why the fuck would you think that you would get along with people or be in a good enough position to be your true self that's actually lovable and likable to other people? You're probably walking around a crabby ass bitch, and you think that you're not being a crabby ass bitch because you're masking, and other people are uncomfortable with this mask because they can tell that that's not you, and you're being fake, and you're like, I'm not being fake, this is just how I am at work. And it's an ever-tuning cycle, and it's like, well, of course, because you hate the place. So if you hate the place, just be okay hating the place and treating everybody like shit, and then all of a sudden you'll start to feel better. You will be the villain in the office, but at least you have a role to play, and other people have a role to play. Okay, she's the villain. Yeah, that's just how it is. Like, and then it can even be kind of fun, you know what I mean? Or it can be toxic, you know what I'm saying? But at least then it's honest, and you know how to actually navigate stuff instead of trying to be something that you're not, right? So it's one of those things. Now, 9 times out of 10, unless you're really deep in a toxic cycle, 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is you trust yourself, you say it's Brenda, you shift your energy, and then things get better. Whether things get better with Brenda or not, we don't care because we don't have a relationship with her. We're just going to let Brenda be. But you get better. You no longer are anxious when you get into the office. You actually are excited to talk at the meeting. You're actually excited to bring up X, Y, and Z. And other people maybe notice your change and excitement, and they're just happy to be around you. And now positive things happen for you. I mean, everybody else in the company is getting laid off. Everything's terrible all the way around. But for some reason, things are working out for you. Yeah. Survive again. You're working at a 9 to 5. That places, you know, those places, they're capitalism. Nothing ethical is happening there, but also survive. So you will probably experience some survivor's guilt because nothing ethical is happening there. So don't try to rationalize that some people, you know, they're just not as lucky in the universe. It's like, no, you're just experiencing the world the way that you want to, and maybe you found a place, but you're also probably in, you know, you have to understand how you're impacting overall, and know why you're somewhere. But if you are able to move good energy, it can be for the longevity of something healthy or the quick decline of something unhealthy. How many of you have walked into a place and it quickly fell apart because you walked in and you helped and you made things better and this, and all of a sudden some aspect of it has completely died and it's having to be reborn anew. I'm telling you guys, that happens to me all the time. Someone said accurate up to the names, not a Brenda. We don't like Brenda here. No offense to any Brenda. No offense to any Brenda. It's just the name that I pick because it's not common, because I be trying not to like, I be trying not to be like Jessica, you know, somebody that's like really a common name, you know, just be out here talking about Amber and, you know, there's 5 of them in the chat, you know, Melissa, oh my God, that'd be fucked up. You know what I mean? You know, just to be, just to be egging people on. So anyways. So building trust, it is simply an act of trusting yourself. Do it. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, things get better. And on top of that, my partner says this, it's really great. I encourage everybody to get a little badge system for themselves. You know what I mean? When you start looking at your accomplishments and the things that you have done throughout the years, I want you to make it into a trophy. You can do this physically for yourself. Make yourself little trophies. Give a little shrine to yourself. Your whole life is a shrine to the higher version of you. Make your whole life a shrine to the universe, to God, whatever you want to call the whoever sent you here. Okay, whoever gave you the blessing that is life and the ability to experience and to express it and all of that. It could have been you in another life. Who cares? Make it a shrine to say, look what I did. Look what I did. Just like you wanted that when you were a kid, maybe, or you had that from a person that may have passed or that may still be around, and you still call them up and you go, look what I did. Look what I did. And they go, oh, look what you did. Look what you did. And you're like, oh, I know I did a thing because this person, they were so proud. I need you to be that person for yourself. I've always been that person first for myself. Usually I go to another person that's very close to me afterwards. And then it would meet other people. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, oh yeah, I did a thing. But the, oh yeah, I did a thing would be like, I'm just updating people now at this point, because it'd be rude, right? Like if you talk to somebody often and like they have to find out from other people that you've done something or that something big is happening to you. So, you update people in your circle or whatever. But one common thing that I notice a lot of people who struggle with validating their own skills and abilities and the things that they've done, right? Your accomplishments, is usually some relationship or multiple relationships of people who have some type of expectation of them and do not give like that kind of energy. So in other words, you go, look at the painting I made, and that person goes, oh, that's funny, that's cute, you're doing that now? Yes. Yes, but why the energy? I feel like I was okay, yes, I am. Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen people who do it better than you, but good job. Okay, nobody's ever said some shit like that flat out to me. I probably would hit a bitch. Be like, I'll hit him with the scrapbook. Absolutely. You're not saying that to me. I've seen better. Fuck you, bitch. I just started this on Tuesday. Oh, get out. I'm very quick to tell people absolutely the fuck not, with like, with kind of shitting on my own little happy moment or my happy space, because I don't do that to other people. So don't let other people do that to you, one, but also recognize that other people aren't there to make your happy moments bigger or better. That's what you're for. I need you all to start making artifacts. I do this with my kids. I'd show you, but then I'd have to get up. But math and English, I've just started really implementing this. Little artifacts. Anytime they learn something new, we add it to a concept map and notebook. We make notes and stuff so they can see what they've done, but also if they forget something, they can look back at it. But 9 times out of 10, they're not going to forget anything that they've learned because they've written it down already and, whatever. But like artifacts help you to like see who you are. So what is a major artifact that we're going to talk about? And that is the morning pages. So when it comes to the artist way, I do have a workshop on this. And I know quite a few people in here are at different stages of morning pages and like whether they use them, how experienced they are with them. So I'm going to give a brief overview, right? And we'll talk about some of the things that come with creating an artifact. Here we go. I'll show you guys my journal, sort of. Not like the insides. Don't be, ew. I don't know you like that. You gotta buy me something first. No, I'm just joking. You have to do more than buy me stuff. Yeah, okay, so here we go. I'll show you something here because it's kind of like silly. Oh, look, I have an I'm grateful. This was September. So anyways, here's mine. Okay, oh my God, look at it. It's so cute. It's on TikTok for everybody who's at home and cannot see what I am showing. But it's just me doodling. It's really not that serious. But actually I do, for Saturday 21st, the only thing I logged in this thing, honestly, was 5 things I was grateful for. So you can imagine, oh yeah, it was also the start of my period. Oh God, it was heavy. Yeah, so you can imagine, the reason why I only wrote 5 things that I was grateful for is because I was going through it. Okay? Start of my cycle. My entire uterine line is falling out of my body. Yeah, okay. So, we do what we can. We do what we can when we're literally going through transformation and regeneration and regrowth in less than 5 days. You know what I mean? The next time I wrote was Wednesday, funny enough. But I wrote down, and there was some notes and some thoughts. Sunday, it was, I'm not sure I've done much today, but I've lived, and that is lovely. Wow. This bitch is going through it on this period. Talk about a cycle. Me, I'm not sure I've done much today, but I have lived, and that is lovely. I love me. Anyways, and then we played D&D, me and the kids and my partner, Pops. We all played, we have imaginative play sessions sometimes. There are, some parts of school and all that. So anyway, so I just doodled for that. Actually, I do remember that day because that was the day that I could sit up really well. And I was like, good for imaginative play. So anyways, artifact. I just showed you guys one in which I did not even There was not much going on. Like, I wasn't putting an awful lot into my morning pages. Now, granted, I did at the time do a lot of my morning pages online, so, or not online, but on my computer. So there is a reason why some of it is missing vast amounts of pages. But generally with morning pages, you want to write 3 pages of content, just stream of consciousness, just when you first wake up in the morning, right? The reason why we do this when we first wake up in the morning is because the point is to throw up everything. To just empty out your brain, your thought, all of this stuff that is kind of like, when you wake up, you're still in a dream state. And this is right before your to-do list starts popping up in your head. This is right before you go, oh, my body, I feel this pain, this ache. Oh, my goodness. Or right before you think about the problems that you have with any person, any place, or any situation. When you first wake up, you are just you, a human being, an animal. An animal. You are not this civilized fake, I don't want to call it fake, but you're not this civilized version that you put on for the whole world. And that civilized version, that civilized mask that you put on, it's slow. You slowly put it on. When you brush your teeth, you're cleaning the teeth, right? When you do your hair a certain way, if you put on makeup, if you get dressed a certain way, right? Depending on what day it is, whether you go out or you're in today is all based on the civilized life that you've built around you. That isn't you, the animal. This is what you've created. So before you as the artist step into your creation, why don't we figure out how we can fine tune, change, and or maybe start all over with the creation that we're about to step into? Because that creation isn't you. That's the mask that you've curated. Everyone talks about mask as if it's just something you put on your face. Your mask is an entire energy body. Like, it's the way that you choose to think. It's the way that you choose to talk. It's who you choose to communicate with. And that changes from environment to environment based on the to-do tasks that you have to do, the commitments you've made, right? It's an entire embodiment, an aesthetic. And the Pinterest girlies know. An aesthetic isn't just the clothes that you wear, the paint on your walls, or the books on your bookshelf. It's also how you talk, how you express yourself, the words that you use, the color palette of everything, when you're allowed to break that color palette, right? It's very extensive. Aesthetics are extensive things. They are highly, highly, highly complex. The more that you borrow from others, the less complex they are. Or the less you may know how to use its complexity, I should say. But the more that you can actually stop before you put on a whole aesthetic and call that you can just stop and be honest with yourself for a minute. You might just sit down in your morning pages and be like, you know what? That dear diary, that bitch Brenda, I swear to God, we had drinks and I thought that she was going to be cool for once in her motherfucking life. But then come to find the fuck out that she messaged our boss and told that bitch X, Y, and Z. And I specifically told her not to say that. But if I mention this to her, next page, she's going to say that I'm actually saying that because of this, and this, and that's not why I'm pissed. I'm pissed because of this, and this, and this bitch is going to use it against me. Why did I think that she was cool enough to be friends with in the beginning, and now I just went and had fucking drinks with her, and everybody thinks we're closer than we fucking are, because people keep asking me about Brenda, like we're fucking best friends, and I barely like this bitch. Oh my God, did I say all of that? When I'm really just a kind, sweet, and cozy cottage girl? Oh my God, did I call her a bitch 15 times in my notebook? I have to delete this because what if she reads it one day? Why the fuck is Brenda reading your morning pages, first of all? Get rid of the thoughts. The point that I'm making is if you were just honest for the first 5 minutes, then maybe you wouldn't have to be at a state of total annoyance and frustration at your workplace and then ask yourself, why don't I feel safe? Maybe if you just let the real you talk to you in the morning about what's really going on the inside, when you busy wearing that mask and acting and doing all of this and letting stuff go because you're the cool one right now, or really diving in deep with so-and-so because you're the friend that gives the good advice, when you just stop being all those bitches for 5 minutes and let the real you who's living, breathing, and feeling in your body, who has work to do on this earth, let that version say whether or not Brenda's getting in the way of that work. Because if Brenda is, then we don't do drinks with her. And when we make that promise, we keep it, because I trust the version of me that does not like Brenda. I know there's a version of me that does, a version of me that sees that Brenda is this really kind, sweet, and misunderstood person, that she has ADHD just like me. And so that's why she's always neurotic and X, Y, and Z. And people really don't get her. And that's why everyone in the office hates her. And I've been designated Brenda's best friend, even though I barely talk to her and I just went and had drinks with her. And I don't even know why people are saying this. Right? I know so many people get into that like sting of a situation where they are around people that they don't like and they don't know why. It's because you're not listening to yourself. There's some aspects of you that do like that person. Yes. But perhaps like the other aspects of you that don't need more boundaries. And that person has been brought into your life, and not so that you can judge them or dislike them, but so you can practice those boundaries. And maybe you practicing those boundaries with Brenda means that Brenda will recognize that some of the things that she admires about you, she should maybe practice those things. Or maybe the things that she is codependent on you about, she now has to handle herself, which means she has to spend more time with herself. But Brenda's never done that before, because she came from a family with a lot of kids and everybody, she's the baby. Everyone was always so obsessed with her and in love with her and doing everything for her. So she's a codependent little baby at work too, because she's never experienced anything else. And I, as a youngest, also, I resonate with that. People not wanting to help because, they just don't get it. They just don't get it, that you weren't taught this and you weren't taught that. And, I learned all these things, and that's why she's using me to be her new mommy. Yeah, see, there's two versions oftentimes, or multiple versions of you that are unheard in any given relationship, situation, or environment that you find yourself in. Because the mask that you're wearing, you are overriding and saying your ego is allowed to choose, when it's the real you who is the creative. You created the ego. I'm going to tell you guys this. It's very biblical. There's a saying, right? I think it's I can't remember. I read the Bible like here and there whenever it pops up for me. You know what I'm saying? But there's a section where God, right, where he's looking at his angels. I think it was Michael and Lucifer and Gabriel and another one. I can't remember, but he's looking at them. There's these 4 or something like that. And Lucifer became a fallen angel because he looked at his creation, right? He looked at the creation, or he looked at God's creation, his own image in a mirror, and fell so in love with it that he forsake everything that God had to say and do, so that he could just so he could be with this creation, this thing. And so he became a fallen angel, the concept. The point that I'm making here is that the devil in you is the one that's obsessed with your ego. The one that confuses the ego for the creator, instead of the you who does the creating early in the morning before you get up. But the problem is that most of you are living on a schedule, whether you live 9 to 5, whether you are just haphazard and kind of disorganized in life. Most of you get up and go do something. Even if it's get up and pick up your phone. Oh, I'm on it. Pick up your phone and start scrolling and feeding. And you're not spending time with yourself. You're spending time with a bunch of other fucking people telling you how to feel, how to think, where to go, this, that, and the other. And yes, some of you can curate your feed to be very uplifting and affirmational, but be mindful. What is more uplifting and affirmational than like sitting with yourself? You know what I mean? And I do it too. I'm guilty. I do too. But know when you are running from yourself, okay? Because there are versions of you, and you have to think of it too. Your ego is not just one thing. It's a highly complex system. You are a multifaceted system. Do you know how many egos are in here at one time? I am not just this teacher, y'all. You will never know you'll never know me in my home, how I am with my children. I do not present myself as I do when it's just me and my children, the same way that I do when it's me, my children, and other outside people. The only person who probably has seen more aspects of me than anybody else alive is my partner, honestly. And that's just because we're super comfortable and we find everything fucking funny. So he's going to see all those things. Also, I can be deeply melancholic and deeply sad. I can be dark. I can be the most vilest, evilest person. And, he'll still look at it and be like, that was cute that you thought that was vile and evil, but whatever, and I'm sitting here you don't know the things that I can do with my mind. You know what I mean? When I'm pissed or something like that. Or I can be deep in a conspiracy thing, and he knows that I'm not deep in conspiracy because this is real to me, but because I like mind puzzles and to be open and suspend belief. I write fantasy, for crying out loud. Why would I be interested, right? So it's like, you are a multifaceted person, and not any one person is going to see all different aspects of you. Like I said, sometimes my kids get different aspects of me than when we are all out with other outside people, because I have to be a protector of children, which means I'm less likely to be as comfortable and laid back than is when we're at the home. When we're at home, what is there for me to be vigilant about? When I'm outside in the streets, I'm vigilant, and I just accept that. I don't feel safe and comfortable being at ease and silly and not thinking about anything in certain environments, like in a parking lot with cars and people who do their makeup while they drive. I don't feel safe just being la 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 la. Well, my kids are la 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 lawing. No, I gotta be a little bit more thoughtful about how we get from point A to point B. Some areas are by nature dangerous, so we navigate those as such, right? You identify, and then you put on a mask or an ego to help you navigate a more dangerous situation. You are not the same person when you don't feel safe as when you do. You're not going to, the same thing applies. You all have to recognize that the most safest version of you includes your inner child. Why would you ever put your inner child in a dangerous situation, or wouldn't you lock them away and bring out something a little bit more, aggressive, something that can navigate the situation without this inner child getting fucked up. You know what I mean? Something that keeps the inner child safe. You're just naturally going to do that. The thing is that you don't want to consistently be in that energy. Got to keep the inner child safe while you're sitting at home in a bathtub. You know what I mean? You're sitting at home in your own bathtub, and you can't let down. You can't relax. Something's not right? Why don't you feel safe with you is the question at that point. So this is what Morning Pages does. Is it really highlights and shows us, it lets the inner child, let all your inner child speak, let the teenagers speak, let the corporate baddies speak, let the artistic, slightly unhinged ones speak, let the vilest witch of the wicked witch of the West speak, let the Galinda in you speak, let the Agatha in you speak. Agatha was fucked. Let the teen boy, whatever his name was, speak. Let the old man in you speak, and you're sitting here like, what do you mean, old man? You're think about it. Most of the different, you guys are multifaceted, but there's no way that in this entire world you only express yourself as a gender. You express yourself as a being, and you pick up ways of being from different other beings. That's why we say gender is a fluid thing, and some people have more mass that swing more masculine presenting, because we just associate those archetypes with masculine people because we only let those particular types of people express that archetype. But aren't there masculine ways for women to express, masculine ways for men to express, and a spectrum between that all people can express? So the thing is there's different aspects and versions of you, and sometimes because some of you are toxic, sexist, internalized phobias, some of y'all ain't got one black parent between you, but you've got a black one in there somewhere. It comes out at the weirdest times, you know. Some people have different cultures of them inside. A lot of you grew up watching anime. You don't think that you express yourself in a way that is strictly Japanese? You'd be surprised, especially if a lot of you watch foreign films. You don't think that you grew up and learned how to express yourself in a way that is specifically a totally different culture. You've grown, you're multifaceted. And so therefore, all of those versions of you aren't always going to get along and agree on how to express in any one given situation. They're not always going to agree, but they all need to be respected. So if the version of you that is young does not feel safe, you all, the ones that do feel safe, oh, I'm an adult and I'm fine, even though this guy gives off red flags. I know how to take care of myself. Your inner child doesn't feel safe. Go home, bitch. Go home and take care of that baby. No, but you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, one of you doesn't feel safe, which means none of you are safe. Hence why you have to act like an asshole when you're around that person, right? Or If some of you don't feel comfortable around a big group of people for whatever reason that day, and you're like, I don't want to make a big deal of it because I'm always being so finicky and canceling things. Yeah. And then next, 2 weeks later, you're sick and you can't even figure out why you got sick. And if you would have written in your morning pages probably about why you didn't want to do the thing that you were forcing yourself to do later that afternoon, you would have probably, when you forced yourself to do it and you were like, oh, and you felt uncomfortable there, you'd have thought of your morning pages and been like, you know what, I just need to leave. And maybe you wouldn't have gotten sick. Because all of you need to be respected. There's a reason why some aspects of you don't fully want to express. Now, are there going to be moments when all of you agree? Yes, as long as all of you are being respected, you will express yourself appropriately. When you lean on an ego identity because you want to connect with a person, a place, or a situation, when you ignore other parts of you that are sounding off alarm bells because you just want something material out of the situation and you're going to use your ego to do it, you're not fully rendering or showing up in a world. What I'm going to say here is this is where we get into more science, like the science aspect of it, of how this actually works, is you are a holographic human being. Holographic meaning not that you're see-through and stuff. You actually do have cells. You are physical, right? But you are also a holographic being. This is just your physical embodiment. You have a mental, a spiritual, and an emotional one. If all of you don't agree, you've got 4 bodies and they've got to be listened to, and any other aspect of you or any mask might show up spiritually, how you are creative. Some might show up emotionally. Some aspects of you are purely emotional bodies. If an aspect that exists in your emotional body doesn't want to show up to a situation, do you think you are fully going to be present in a situation? No. And if you're not present, can you take in information correctly? No. If you're not taking information incorrectly, are you going to be able to problem solve? No. Are you going to be able to think, meaning ask questions? No, you're going to assume a lot of stuff. Are you going to be able to express yourself appropriately? No. Are you then going to leave that situation feeling negative about it in some way, shape, or form? Yes. Then will you go back and be like, see, this is why I can't trust myself, because I didn't want to be there. I went there anyways, and I had a bad time because so-and-so brought up this and blah, 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 blah. And this is why I shouldn't go. And not knowing that, no, it's not that you can't trust yourself or that you shouldn't go or you shouldn't do. It's that one of you didn't want to and you didn't respect it. Sometimes, same situation, 2 days later, all of you were on board. Turns out there was going to be a fucking flu going around at that one event. And so your body's like, hey, yo, I'm peeping game, because subconsciously, remember we were sitting on the toilet scrolling TikTok nonstop. Someone mentioned flu and spike, and it was this, that, and the other. And I'm picking up on that information, but because I'm distracted, it's not coming through. I'm distracted because I really want something. It's not coming through. Meanwhile, you're pinging the information in. But if you go, you know what, something just doesn't feel right. Let me journal about it really quick. Morning pages. You can do it in the morning. And I also recommend that anytime you don't feel right, go journal. Go ask the question, why don't I feel right? And just let the answer come to you. It's either going to come to you right away and you can journal about it, or the more that you're used to writing, the better, or it won't come to you immediately. You're going to experience the answer some way. Let life happen. Just get present is all the thing that you have to do. If you want an answer, you have to be present. To be present, you have to be spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically locked into reality. Okay, you have to feel safe to be spiritually locked into reality. Your spiritual body is your creative body, so you've got to feel safe. Your emotional body. Do you feel safe in your emotions? Your mental body. Do you feel safe with these thoughts? Your physical body. Do you feel safe around any of this? Physically. And boom, this is how the information comes to you, is as you choose to feel safe in your body, you choose to confront and solve the problem, boom, you can. Now, the reason why I say the artist way, you're going to, as you guys go through week 1, I'm running out of time. I've got one more thing to mention, artist dates, and then we'll go. If any of you need to go, feel free. You guys already know that the stream and the download will be up by tomorrow on the paid newsletter for this month, so you'll be able to access it then. The book is also there, so you don't need to go out and buy it if you don't need to. I provide a copy of the book, a PDF copy, encouraged by the author, so it's it's good. Anyways, and what else was I gonna say? Yeah, also this PDF is up there too. So yeah, so check out there, because we're probably gonna run maybe like 30 minutes late, and then I'll pop off. Okay, so back to this. And by the way, on TikTok, hello, I'm Francina Simone, founder of the Midnight Scholar Society. We are doing a class on the artist way. We're going to be doing this for all 12 weeks. So if you are interested in you feel uninspired lately and you need to get back into your creative body, because feeling inspired looks like this. Your finances are off. You feel unsafe all the time. You're emotionally dysregulated. You've got a lot of mental clutter, a lot of stuff going on. This is a sign that you may not be expressing yourself. And if you are expressing yourself, you may not be expressing yourself properly. Hence why you've got a lot going on in your energy, and a lot can feel very stagnant and slow. The more you've got going on, the more dense your energy becomes. So the less interested in anything you become, the more mundane everything is to you, the least likely you want to do stuff and move. Now, also we're in winter hibernation season. So sometimes you just got to rest. You know what I mean? And it's not that deep. But oftentimes we have some issues with our relationship with our creative self, our spiritual self. So this is all about that. The Artist's Way is the only manual that I have ever read that I've been impressed about, first of all, when it comes to how to be an artist. So everyone's going to be reading week by week. We meet, we talk, and I'm going to lecture on some things. The things that I lecture on aren't exactly in the book. It's about the theme and the topic itself, because the point is for you to read. Please read it, listen to it, either way, 1 week at a time. First 2 weeks this go around. So please read week 2 before we have class next week. But the point of it is that when you read all of that stuff, that's great. I'm going to talk to you about other things and kind of help you ground information in totally different ways about the same theme, same concepts. That way you're getting a lot of information and a lot of different ways. So in a lot of different analogies, so that as you read this stuff, you can start to really, you're already kind of exposed to it, and you're already a bit more receptive to it, and you can do the things and see the value in some of these exercises. One last thing I'm going to talk about, the artist dates, and oh my God, I was supposed to talk a little bit. I guess I am, so it's fine. Hard thing is, with lectures, I tend to go on for quite a bit because there's so much information to kind of get out. So in week 1, one thing I want to mention is that you're going to go over the shadow work, shadow artist. So, a little bit of what I'm talking about as far as people who don't know that they are artistic because you've been, I'm not that good at this, so I'm not that good at that. Honestly, especially if you want to write, do morning pages. Do morning pages and you'll write whatever book that you're interested in writing. I guarantee you, because you will get into the process, stream of consciousness, that teaches you what your voice is. Most people have a hard time figuring out voice, and they get real stuck on story and things like that. But writing morning pages was going to help you tell story because you're talking to yourself. You're going to learn how to open up your channel, and then anything that you want to do from there will be clear to you. So it doesn't even matter whether it's writing, whether you want to do gymnastics and you're like 68. I'm being very fucking serious. If you want to start getting into dance, if you want to read 52 books a year, I don't care what it is that you want to do. If you want to start a business and be successful and grow it, I'm telling you, it works. When you go about it in an artistic way, you will succeed because you're creating art. You're creating art. And when you create art, there's no wrong way to do it. It's just whether you do it in a way that feels good to you or in a way that feels bad to you. I'm encouraging everyone to do it in a way that feels good to you. Because then you'll have results that you enjoy, versus colossal failure to the point where you give up. Because success is failing upwards, and colossal failure is repeating and or doing things in such a way that is the total opposite of what you want, that you end up getting what you want in a way in which you did not mean to go about doing it. That is art in itself. It is beautiful in itself, but it's not the way that we want to go about life. So so pick up the book. Please do read it and know that as we go through, we're going to talk about some different things. Also, your enemy within, core negative beliefs. Please do read this section. I keep saying read it. When you read these things, I want you all to actually ask yourself, what are some negative core beliefs that I have about myself? Just be honest in your morning pages. This is the place to talk about it. When you're honest, and I'm going to tell you this, when you're honest, you'll say some fucked up shit about yourself, and then you got to back it up. I'm going to tell you, back it up then. Back it up. Oh my God, I feel too angry. Okay, back it up. How are you always so angry? Go ahead, give me a list of examples. Are you stuck after one? Is it because you're holding on to that one moment where you expressed yourself angrily and someone else didn't like it and they're still not talking to you and this, that, and the other because you finally spoke up for yourself for once? Mel Robbins says, let them be angry. Leave it alone. But it's circling around in your mind because it's new and you normally don't do that. And this is why you don't do it, because it makes you feel uncomfortable because you're used to taking on other people's emotions and mitigating them before they get bad. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did you just discover that? Because you wrote down, I feel too angry. And then when I told you to back that shit up, you were like, this is what's happening. You'll be surprised when you're being honest with yourself. You're going to be honest. And then you're going to be honest and be like, damn, I'm the villain, not of the situation, but I'm the villain of me. Oh my God, I'm the good person in the situation. And then I go home and tell myself, you're a bad person. Look at you for being good. Because other people feel angry about having probably been the actual villain in the situation. And so instead of feeling that, they bully me. I stick around being bullied because I go home and bully myself for them. That's how bullying works. That's how aggression like that works. That's why there are some people who get bullied and then they punch a bitch in the face and say, fuck round, find out, bitch. Whether that be physical, metaphorical, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, some people say, fuck round, find out, bitch. And other people go, oh, I shouldn't have fucked with her. Yeah, bitch, because I bully bullies. That's just how I am. That's how I'm built. That's how I'm wired. So when people bully me, I bully them. And then go fucking figure, they start acting normal. Or at least, I don't know what they're doing because I'm not about it. I'm not interested. I set boundaries, and those boundaries sometimes hurt people's feelings because it tells them exactly who they are. Because when I set a boundary and say, you don't get my fucking presence, but everybody else does, says something. When everybody's like, she doesn't hate anybody, but she hates you. And you also were talking shit about A, B, and C, and you were also stealing from so-and-so and this and that. Sounds like you make bad decisions, bro. Yeah. That's usually how that works, right? Other people have to sit with those things. But there's that person who stands up for themselves in one way, shape, or form or the other. And then there's the other person who just kind of shrugs it off, right? Stays around that person. It's because when you shrug stuff like that off, you go home and bully yourself. When you're a good person, it's really hard. It's really hard to set boundaries and then not go home and not bully yourself about hurting people's feelings. Especially if you're somebody who generally believes that other people should be kind to people, X, Y, and Z. It's really difficult to set boundaries and hurt other people's feelings. I'm telling you guys this as somebody who is probably, I work really hard not to harm people, which means I have the highest capacity to do the most damage on people if I so choose and please to. Because I have the ability to reach so deeply into someone's vulnerability because I literally practice all the ways not to. So that means that I'm aware of all the ways to do it. So I just choose not to, which means if I choose to do it, I could probably do it in some really harmful ways. And a lot of people, a lot of really good people go home and beat the shit out of themselves. And do you understand how much of a fucking monster you are when you know all of the ways in which to harm a person? So when you choose to not set a boundary and instead go bully yourself, that monster that you are, this power that you're afraid of unleashing onto other people, you're just unleashing it onto yourself. And then you go around being like, see, this is why I can't be with other people because see how mean I am to myself. I definitely can't do that to others. Nah, give other people a little bit of the medicine. You turned out all right. You turned out to be a good person. maybe give them a little bit of that medicine. Maybe give them a little bit of that bullying. You know what I'm saying? And it's just about how do I know when it's appropriate and how it's appropriate to do that. Like for me, I don't just go around popping off at people emotionally triggered X, Y, and Z. I walk away from situations where people don't even know I just bullied somebody, but that person knows. They know for sure. They know for sure. Most people have no fucking idea. And the people who do go, good for you for standing up for that person over there. Because they peeped the game. They saw that I bully bullies. They peeped the game. Some people would be like, you're just a bully. You hurt their feelings. And that's fine too. Because bitch, if you really think that this person was innocent in the situation, by all fucking means, you cry too. You cry too. I want you all crying tonight. Because at the end of the day, you don't harm other people on purpose or for malicious intent or for all of these things, right? And you fuck around, you find out sort of a situation. Some people are the karma. Some people are. Some people aren't. Most people, I'm telling you, when you are in situations where you're doing something like that, I guarantee you 10 times out of 10, I'm not bullying somebody on purpose. I'm fixing something or voicing my personal opinion, and it just so happens to obliterate the other person very publicly and very embarrassingly because I'm just stating facts. If it's a situation and I have to explain a situation and educate everybody in the room because this is an unsafe thing or this is a thing, we're just stating facts. How do you get to the point where you can just state facts and that's bullying bullies and you get stuff done and out of the way and you're the safe person? By just being yourself. When you say things like, oh God, no, I'm looking down the list and I'm trying to get to the ones, these are all really negative affirmations that people say. And I was like, oh God, I can't say that one. I really work on not saying negative things, especially to myself. This list got me kind of like, oh, I will have to be alone. No, you don't. Oh God, I hate that. You know what I mean? I will upset my mother or father. That's a big one. I don't have good enough ideas. That's a huge one. I can't spell. That's big. I can't spell. And guys, I'm a literary critic and I can't spell. Why? Because there's a dictionary for a fucking reason. Why would I go around memorizing how to spell fucking words when I've got spell check and a goddamn dictionary? That's just waste of brain power. And if I can be a literary critic and write a literal Shakespeare retelling, I think you can do your morning pages. Okay? Okay, I could show you scribbles that I got all over every place where I just can't spell something for the life of me. Anyways, I will abandon my friends and family just because you decided not to go somewhere once. When you got to write these things down that you feel that are negative about yourself and then prove it. Come up with evidence and write the evidence down. Don't just make a claim and not back it up with evidence. Talk about those situations. Oftentimes, and the reason why I'm saying this is when you are honest and you talk about situations honestly, you're going to start seeing where you over empathize with other people, where you're making assumptions about how other people feel, because you're going to have to ask yourself, did they really feel that way or did I just think that they felt that way? Writing makes you really clear on just how much you go around creating caricatures of people that you interact with instead of interacting with people. Being a writer teaches you the difference between I just created a fucking character in my head versus this is a real person and not a character that I just created in my head and I should act accordingly. When you write, you realize that you can't speak for other people. You can make assumptions, and making an assumption means you're not growing or learning. It means you're in stagnation and decay. For some reason, you're not asking. For some reason, you're not being creative. For some reason, you feel a bit more like you're stressed. This is stressful for you. Why do you feel too stressful? Well, and the next thing you know, as you start writing or typing, you can do your 3 pages. I say do I think it's 1,500 words or 3,000 words I think it's 1,500 words if you're doing 3 pages on the internet. Hold on. So gross. Sorry, y'all. I think it's 15,000 words. 1,500, sorry. If you're doing it 3 pages on any type of Word document or something like that. And it's, just do any 3 pages of any 8x5 notebook and you're fine. But when you start writing, okay, and you have to back this stuff up, you're going to see in all of the ways in which you don't feel comfortable, which means you're in survival mode, which means you don't feel safe, which means you're not listening to one of yourselves about something. Why don't I feel safe enough to speak up in this moment? Well, because then you're going to find out whether you're putting someone else's feelings above your own. Because if you don't feel safe enough to express yourself because of a person, you're putting that person above you. Because of an environment, you're putting that environment above you. Because of a situation, you're putting the situation above you. Why would you put anything above you? That's not trusting you. That's trusting a situation over you. That's trusting another person to do all of the things for your feelings instead of you. That's trusting a situation to do right by you instead of you. And how can those things do right by you if you don't show up? If you didn't voice yourself, how can anyone do the right thing? If you didn't show up properly, you didn't render yourself into the environment because you put it above you. Oh, well, I'm not good enough for that, so I won't go. How the fuck is the environment supposed to do right by you if you're not even showing up? Or the situation, oh, well, I'm sure it'll all work out fine and everything will just be great. I just, because the situation or everyone else's idea is so much better than mine, so I won't even voice my idea. I won't participate in any way. I will just leave the context of it altogether so that while everyone and everything in the situation is coming together, it's going to come together without me. And then at the end, I'll go, why didn't they invite me? Because you didn't input yourself. You put them into the pot instead of you, and they already put themselves into the pot. So they put themselves into the pot, you put them into the pot as yourself, which means that either they're super fucking selfish for being in there twice, or they or what? Because oftentimes, if you ever notice, that a lot of the disagreements and arguments that come from people is who's the selfish one in the situation, and people who put other people or other situations or other environments before them are participating in the other one being overbalanced. You're allowing them to take up more room than they should, which now they're acting selfishly. And oftentimes, if people don't have the awareness to know that if you don't speak up and if you say something like, oh, I don't really care what we eat, and you really do care, you just don't want to inconvenience everybody because you're a vegetarian, right? Or you're vegan, right? So everybody goes to a fucking restaurant where the only vegan thing on the meal is the house salad. And that's just some lettuce and it's a few little tomato, little grape tomatoes, And it's in and they're eating like really nice food, really good food. This place just doesn't do a lot when it comes to like vegan. Everything's got some type of animal fat on it. You know what I mean? They're all going to start to feel like they're selfish for doing something that they enjoy, that they can't express how much fun they're having or what they like because it's coming at your expense, even though you're like, I just didn't want to be a problem. Well, now you are a problem because everyone's uncomfortable with the fact that you're suffering while they're all eating good. You see how that can sometimes be just the doing of you putting everyone above you, thinking that you're doing something good, but you're not. And then because you're not doing something good, you're going to go back home and then bully yourself and then do it all over again. Oh, some people, they bully themselves because they're like, I try so hard to be so good for other people. And it's like, they didn't even care. They didn't even notice. They didn't this. And it's like, of course they didn't notice. When I say things like, oh, I don't care where we eat, it's because I'm not that hungry. I'm just going to get something to drink anyways. Oh my God, I feel so bad that we're eating all of this and you just have that drink. That looks like way too fucking much to me. You guys want me to talk to you about why I'm not hungry right now? Because I can. And you all are going to be like, never mind. Let me enjoy my food. And I'll be like, yeah, go ahead and enjoy your food. Because I eat good all the time. I don't need to eat good right now. I just want my smoothie or I want my this. I came to this restaurant because I like this thing on the menu, not because I wanted to eat what you're eating. I'm not left out, bitch. I never leave myself out. Slurp, slurp, slurp. You know what I'm saying? And then people go, oh, okay. Let me back up. I'm over here trying to feel bad for somebody who clearly, like, she has her own voice and her own self, and then anything that was slightly tense rebalances itself. Okay. And so people can trust that you'll be honest. You can trust that you're honest with yourself. And that's how you navigate situations with people that otherwise would be neutral and normal. But sometimes people are hanging out with people that they are compatible with and they just ruin the entire situation relationship between the two of them because, they care too much or they don't know how to put themselves first. Or some people are very much, I put myself first all the time. And people think that that's too big-headed. And it's like, it's not. It's not. Let that person say and be who they are, okay? And move accordingly. Are you going to ask someone to come into your birthing room who always puts themselves first in every single fucking situation? Like, bitch, first of all, this is coming first. All of this, okay? There's a baby ahead of you. There's a me ahead of you. There's a partner ahead of you, maybe, right? There's a doctor ahead of you, maybe, or a midwife, okay? Like, all these people are ahead of you. You're just there to hold the ice chips and any fucking snacks that I might need. You're there to turn on the CD and make the music go, play some Enya or some shit like that so I can feel like I'm birthing an alien into the world and it's a magical fucking experience. Plus, pray, bitch, this isn't about you. You know what I mean? You wouldn't invite that person, so we don't need to judge them though, right? Because they're not in the room because we're smart enough not to invite them. But we can still go and have brunch with them and enjoy them for who they are. We're just not going to invite them into the birthing room, and that's okay. And if that person's like, why didn't you invite me to the birthing room? We could be like, bitch, because you'd have made it all about you. And it was about, there's a baby that comes before you. You know, we list all that stuff out, and the person goes, all right, you're right. Do you know how many times I've went up to somebody and I'm like, how come you didn't X, Y, and Z me? And they will list me back to myself. They'll be like, because you're this, and you're this, and you're this. And you wouldn't shut the fuck up even if I asked you to, because you always got a fucking opinion when it comes to you thinking I'm doing something stupid, and I just want it to be stupid. And I go, that's fair. That's really, I respect that. I really do. Because thank you for not putting me in the position to be fucked up about this stupid ass situation. And also, at least you see yourself in it and you can do better or whatever. I'm not here to parent you, but you're right. I would have judged the fuck out of you in the moment, because why you got me here? You know what I mean? See, people can navigate. We got to leave life to other people to navigate. Navigate life the way you want to. You'll be surprised you didn't invite somebody who didn't want to go. Do you know how many times I see people, this happens in white culture all the time, so please be mindful. I see people do this all the time. They'll invite people places and they don't even like the person. And they're just like, well, I feel bad if I leave them out. You two don't even like each other. Why would you invite this person? Now, and it's always people who secretly don't like each other. Everybody knows that these two people don't like each other, but to them, they secretly don't like each other. And it's like, okay, so then they'll go and invite somebody because they secretly don't like them, but they want to give off the impression that they're neutral or something like that. And now this other person who wants to give off the impression that they're neutral will go. And it's like, then they'll just ruin the thing for each other. And then we're all sitting here like, why? Like, we can do things separately. Do you know how many times I'll be like, tell me who's going? And I'll hear a name and I'll be like, I'm not going. People love to be like, oh, don't be like that. And I'm like, no, I'm not about to ruin this for everybody. Can you imagine? I go somewhere and I know I won't be able to keep my mouth shut. I know I'm going to bully somebody for fun, maybe, you know, like I'm about to be mean, like I'm about to take my hit backs from the universe. I will chance hitting my knee up against something, walking into a fucking wall like an idiot, just so that I can bully this person. Like, that is how toxic this may be between me and them. Can you imagine? I'm going to go to hang out when y'all are trying to have fun, and I'm just going to go and mercilessly bully this person that I can't stand because I don't think that they belong here for whatever reason. Like, me and this person just hate each other. No, I'm just not going to go, and that's cool. Oh, well, why can't we all hang out? You guys can all hang out, and we can hang out at some other point. Well, what if we don't want to do the same thing twice? That's okay, bitch. I'm sure we'll do something else. Like, also, if you're hanging out with this person all the time, chances are you're going to start acting like them more often than not. And I'm going to start bullying you too mercilessly. So this might be for the best for everyone. You guys just have to, understand that, life actually works out just how it's supposed to if you are yourself and you show up present every day. And the best way to do that, morning pages. Now, the second way to do that, we talked about some negative beliefs and stuff. That's going to be in in week 1. Please do go through that. Your ally within, affirmative weapons. So let me talk about affirmations. I touched on this a little bit when I said when you achieve something, you need to make a trophy for it. If your trophy, okay, listen, you don't even have to listen, you see this little Lego guy here? I haven't done this before, but I'm going to tell you to do it now, and we'll do it now. He's my sleuth wizard. I don't know. He didn't come like this. Me and the kids did this on accident together, me and my youngest. He's got a fish gun and everything. Oh my God. Okay, so anyways, I've got this Lego guy, right? And he's got a wizard hat on. He's an old man. He looks like a detective. He's like a noir detective, you know? Next time, let's say I write a book, okay? And it's my first mystery or something like that. You know what I would do at the end of it? He would become the living embodiment of having finished that thing. And then just put him somewhere. And the next book that you go to write, and the next time you go, I don't know if I can, here he is. You already did it once, you can do it again. You know that last time you felt really embarrassed about sharing your work and about doing this, or the last time you felt like you didn't know what you were doing, here he is. You did it once, you can do it again. For everything you do, if you manifest something, Get something to represent that time that you manifested some crazy shit. If you were walking and you manifested a message from the universe, I want you to go home and journal about it. Physical, there it is. It's a trophy. It happened to you. If you manifested an experience for yourself, and we'll talk about artist dates next, I want you to go home, whatever the experience is. If you, this is something, I'm going to share something. Maybe it'll be fun for everybody else too. You know how they say if you want to know if somebody's autistic or not, see if they like trains. I like trains. Now, I like riding in trains, okay? Because it's this great liminal space to be in. You're both going nowhere and somewhere at the same time. And there's enough time and space in between for you to like let your mind wander. And you're moving through energy as you do it. It's beautiful. So my goal in life, right? When I'll know that I've hit my next milestone when I get to a place. And it's either two different places. One of them is Japan. The other one's a secret. And I'm going to move next to a train station. And once a week, I'm just going to get on the line. I won't know where I'm going, and I'll just get off somewhere. And when I get off, I'm going to go find something to eat, right? Because we got to ground ourselves. And a great way to ground yourself is to eat something. Your body starts to digest things, so you start being real present. And hopefully it's something nice. And I'll just take a notebook and my watercolor set with me and some pens. And I'm either going to journal or draw something about the place that I'm in to cement it and then go home. It's real chill, right? That's some real chill shit. It's nothing huge. It's nothing like, oh my God, this is a real mundane thing to just go somewhere randomly and build out a map of the place that you live in or the place that you are, right? One, I'm interacting with the literal world around me. Two, I'm doing it in a way that invokes that whimsy, that kind of like that liminal space. It's on a train. And three, I'm doing something spontaneous. I don't know where I'm going to stop. One day, it'll be from one country to another. One day, it'll be from one country to another, all the way to the other side of the continent, right? With different stops in between. And instead of just stopping to eat, I'll stop to sleep, and I'll stop to go to an Airbnb. I always say to my partner, because he gets motion sick, I was like, I'm going to make sure that wherever it is and whatever train we're on, it has a seat facing forward so you don't get nauseous, because best believe, if I do this continent, like one side to the continent to the other, like you have to come with me. The day trips are fine, I'm fine going by myself on a day trip, but on a long trip, I need my buddy. Like we need to have fun and laugh, and I can just do that by myself. Like I need somebody to kiki with and giggle with and talk about strangers with, so a point that I'm making though is this is a way, right? Going somewhere and marking I was here. It's a sign. I was here. I was here at this accomplishment. I was here at this place. I was here at this time. I was here. So the next time you get to a similar place, a similar situation, a similar accomplishment, or to a similar challenge, you have a trophy. I was here, and I can do it again. And y'all, positive affirmations are that. You can say, honestly, I say to do this on ChatGPT really quick. If you want to get something with positive affirmations going, just tell ChatGPT where you are at life right now. Tell it all the honest stuff. Tell everything that you dislike, yada, yada, yada. And then where you want to go, a dream. And then say, come up with a list of affirmations of that help me get there. Okay. And then I want you, when you have a list of affirmations, like this one is a list of 20. It's in week 1, right? Go through them. As I create and listen, I will be led. How have you done that before? Affirmations, I'm saying this because it's really important. How do you you don't just read affirmations about who you will be. You read about who you are. My creativity leads me to forgiveness and self-forgiveness. Okay, back that up, bitch. How so? And I want you to sit your ass there on that affirmation until you finally pick where that was true. If your affirmation is so therefore keep your affirmations less material and more about who you are and what you do to get to that material success. Don't be like, I am a millionaire. What does that mean? You could be a millionaire in a different currency and be broke as fuck. Okay? You could be a millionaire in American currency and be rich as fuck. But what does that actually mean? And what does being rich mean? And what does being a millionaire mean? So you've got somebody could just influx a bunch of numbers into your bank account now. Great. What does it mean though? Like, what are you going to do with it? What do you need it for? What do you want it for? Why do you want money to begin with instead of wanting what money can buy you? If money can buy you a train ticket from this place to that place, instead of saying you want the money, just, I want to go here. I am going here. When? Pick a day. I'm going here on this day. Is it reasonable? Do you have it within your reason to go there? Or are you like, Would the universe have to jump through 15 fucking loops and hoops to get you from A to B? Because that's a wild jump, right? I am living in a fully fleshed marriage, even though I'm single right now, with a man who deeply loves me and cares about me and will, do all of the great things. This is something you hear with a lot of like romance affirmations. And it's like by the 30th. And it's like, so in 30 days, you want this? Is that like think about how that's going to show up in your life? Kind of scary and a little manic. Are you sure you're going to be able to trust that? Is your nervous system going to be able to look at the love of your life and be like, now, in 30 fucking days? Because generally we get skeezed out when someone expresses their deep, long and eternal love for us on day 3. We start to think that those are red flags. So do you really want it to show up that way? Also, do you really want someone to offer you $1 million tomorrow? Do you think how is that going to work on your nervous system? Because usually we've been systematically taught, have you deprogrammed the concept that if someone walked up and offered you $1 million, that it's not a scam. If your first thought was, oh, I think this person's scamming, somebody must have robbed a bank. If those are your first thoughts and you're trying to manifest that, are you likely to put yourself in a situation where something that is displeasing, you come into money in a displeasing way? Are you likely to truly walk in that and manifest that and embody that? Like, are you really the baddie who can pull off a heist and have half the world hunting you down because you teamed up with the biggest villain of the West? Like, are you really that person? If not, then be more realistic. Don't ask for the material thing. Ask for the thing in which you are putting those efforts towards. And be the person who does that thing. Recognize how you do it now, because that person didn't wake up at that place. That person took steps there. So just being like, I'm taking the steps there. And then you'll be surprised how fast you get there. Because when you recognize you're taking the steps, you recognize that you are taking steps and you take those steps. Sometimes you take 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 5 at a time. You take 5 at a time and you go, oh my God, I almost busted my ass and fell. No more than 5 at a time. No more than 4 at a time, honestly, on a good day. I'm going to go back to 1 at a time for like 3 days, and then we'll go 3 at a time. That was a good pace. That 5, I got something cool, but I nearly died. So we're going to go 3 at a time, and then maybe the last 5 I can hop it. We'll see when we get there. See, that's manifesting. That's when stuff happens to you quickly, is when you are the one making the choice about how and what and when and where you receive something. So, creative affirmations. I want you, when you make affirmations, make them concrete about who you are, not what you have. What you have is not a sign of who you are. There are plenty of people who have things who are not the sign of what they are, okay? Plenty of people. What you have is not who you are. Who you are dictates, though, what you have. Yeah. Who you are does dictate what you have. And when we look at it that way, we can see that there are a lot of people who express a lot of different ways who have the same thing. And because maybe they have some similar frequencies, or maybe because a lot of people can just be a lot of different things and have this one thing. Either way, you start thinking differently. So who you are is not what you have. But what you have is influenced by who you are. Okay. Task. So this one at the bottom has some task, and it's about not only setting your morning clock to doing your morning pages, like do what you can, but to take yourself on an artist date. So I'm going to read to you this really quick. Also time travel. I love this. Write a letter to the editor in defense. Time travel. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 time travel pieces. One physical thing that you're going to try to do this week, and that's take yourself out on a date, and your morning pages. So, and another activity, write a letter to the editor in your defense, mail it to yourself. It's great fun to write this letter. So the editor is the person who makes a lot of critiques about you and who you are. That can be a fantastical version of a family member, or yourself, a hypercritical version of yourself. But sometimes writing, spend one of your morning pages being like, you critical bitch, you don't know who the fuck I am. I'm this baddie. I did this and I did this and I did this. Who do you think you are? And then you'd be like, oh my God, I'm yelling at myself. Why don't I just accept what I have instead of sitting here and arguing back and forth with myself? Like, why don't I just accept myself? Because this is kind of madness, isn't it? To sit here typing and yelling at myself because I criticize myself instead of just valuing myself. Maybe I should just value myself and skip this part. Oh, did I just fix that? Yeah, we did. Damn, that was weird. That's weird. I'm never going to tell anybody that I used to argue with myself because they're going to think I'm crazy. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of a that's kind of the exercise, and the exercise reveals, yes, that it is a little crazy to be going around criticizing yourself, yelling at yourself, arguing with yourself, trying to fight for yourself with yourself. You'll eventually get to the point of like surrender. Like, why fight me when I'm me? And then all the different aspects of you go, exactly. Instead, how can we do this differently? And you realize by setting boundaries, by respecting each aspect of me. Oh my God, something smells so good. Okay, so artist dates. This is really quick. I'm just going to mention it in a nutshell. Is an artist date does not have to be something that is massive. It can be something very simple. The author, Julia Cameron, goes over what an artist date is, but it's just a solo adventure. The one rule about artist dates is it's just you. You cannot go on an artist date with and have somebody tag along. This is when you and yourself. This is between you and yourself. If you find it difficult to make time for yourself, problem. If you find it difficult to justify doing something by yourself, problem. Sometimes I go to the ballet as an artist date, and I'm saying like do things that are pretty big. I can listen. I like to find really creative ways to do something that's an artist date that doesn't like cost me money. And if it does, I really am grateful and put value into it. So I will either go way above and beyond to spend nothing and just really enjoy my life, and go above and beyond to spend something to really enjoy. So when I go to the ballet, right, I will get snacks. I'll get little chocolates at the concession stand. Are they the most expensive? I think it's like $5 for a chocolate. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, everybody. Okay, I think it's like $5 for a chocolate. Is that ridiculous? No, it's like $2. It comes 2 little truffles or whatever. Is it ridiculous? Yes. Do I need to spend money on that particular chocolate? Could I just go out of my way to a different store, get some other chocolates that are less expensive but just as tasty? Sure, but why would I do all of that? Like, do I want to go on a date with somebody who's like, let me find all the cheap ways to take you out? No, unless that's the point. Unless the point is for us to like cheat the system and sneak food into the movie theater because I want to eat curly fries and not whatever the fuck they've got going on, that weird pizza thing or that nasty nacho cheese. Like, I want to eat something real like a burger. I'm telling y'all, I'm the type of person, but I grew up like this. Okay, I was in Florida. We'd go and we'd have, my mom, we'd go to like an expensive restaurant. She was grieving at the moment. We go to an expensive restaurant. My mom was a queen of artist dates. Go to an expensive restaurant and get all to go. And then we go to a movie theater. And it was during the middle of the day. We go to IMAX, whatever's playing. And then we just eat there. We were doing this before dining in movie theaters was a thing. Okay, we'd take out the to-go. She'd have her nice big purse. I'd have my whatever. Sometimes we used to love this one barbecue restaurant. I think it was like Tony Roma's or something when they first opened up, because it was really early in the Tony Roma's stage before it became like a huge franchise. And so we'd go and we get a nice little barbecue plate, whatever, this, that, and the other. I remember I'd have everything all set out, my utensils. We'd have my drink, my concession stand drink. I was not a candy popcorn girl at the movies. I was a, where are my onion rings? Where's my salmon, my lobster? Where's my, where's my whatever the fuck it was going to be that day? Where's my risotto? Whatever it was. And so the thing is, though, is it's about, like, obviously, I'm not saying please take your own food into theaters. I did have to lecture my child on the fact that movie theaters can only be open because they are paid for by concessions and stuff like that. So I'm not saying... I'm not suggesting criminal activity, but what I am saying is when you go somewhere, so when I go to the ballet, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out how to go cheap and how to find everything cheap. I'm going to just do with the things that I like and do it then. If I see, ooh, they've got chocolates, I'm not going to go, oh, those are too expensive to just get me the fucking chocolates. I saw that they had them. Get me the goddamn chocolates. I'm an expensive fucking date. That's how I am. Okay? Like, if I saw something, then get it. Now, but that's how I am with myself. Because when you're like that with yourself, you notice when other people aren't like that with you. I want to say that again. When you're like that with yourself, okay, you notice when other people aren't like that with you. When I go out the main 1,000, I'm going to say this out loud. You know what I'm saying? I was with my partner. We were best friends when we were young. And I just remember I would just mention stuff casually and then he'd do it or he'd get it. Or like, and sometimes it was the silliest stuff that I wasn't even that interested in. I just, in my ADHD plus autism plus like hyper, like I just tend to like be very dramatic about things. I'll see something, I'd be like, oh my God. And then I'd forecast an entire reality with this thing, and then I'd laugh about it and put it away. And then he'd be like, oh, I got you that for your birthday. And I'd be like, oh my God, why did you get me that? I didn't want that. Like I lived it in the moment there. Oh my God. But I was like, oh, that's so sweet. You know what I mean? But like, if we're out of the movies or something like that, and I wanted something, even if he was, like we were dating when we were in our 20s, even if he was broke, he'd be like, okay, well, I'll get that. Or he'd remember and he'd go and get the cheaper version and he'd be like, I got you some things that you like. And I'd be like, oh, yay. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting here like somebody's got to break the bank for me. But at the same time, what I am saying is that I notice when other people are willing to go in above and beyond for me, regardless of what's going on, just because it made me light up. I lit up and he went, boom, boom, she likes that thing. He was paying attention. He's paying attention, honestly. And, I can say this, honestly, the only way that you really have to figure out who your partners are in life is the people who pay attention. If they don't pay attention, they're probably not for you. And it's not because they don't pay attention to you. It's because they don't pay attention in general. They probably don't pay attention to themselves, X, Y, and Z. So you don't have to internalize not getting attention, but just notice that when you are. And the only way to notice when you are getting attention is to give that attention to yourself, because now somebody's competing. Oh my God, me. Oh, you competing with me for me, huh? All right. Okay, well, fine. Let me see how you do it. Oh, and then, oh, surprise. Life is nice. So artist dates essentially are about that. How do you date yourself? Go out, be the you. Oh my God. Do you know what I love putting on a soundtrack? Oh, no lyrics. Dark Academia. Me, my soul. And my soul he's an antique. I don't know. He's a British man. He's from the Victorian ages and he had tons of money. Okay. My soul is very, it depends on the different versions, right, that I'm talking to at any given time. We talk about how we have different aspects. Those aspects live and breathe inside of you. The egos that you have, right? They are expressions of those aspects. Your ego is an expression of a part of your soul. So how and who do you have in there? When I go on dates, oh my goodness, it's always the Victorian one. And he's always, you talk about Mr. Darcy. He's always got the money. He's like Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth all in one. When I'm Mr. Darcy, he's Elizabeth. We just switch. And I'm like, Pride, Prejudice. Is it us? Whenever I'm feeling a bit melancholy, now it's Persephone and Hades. Whenever I'm feeling a little, eeked or annoyed with the universe, now it's Zeus and Hera. And I'm like, you cheating son of a bitch. You know what I mean? I can't stand you, this, that, and the other. And then it switches because there's different aspects of you. And when you interact with yourself, you get to actually experience them. Instead of just expressing them for other people to experience, you get to experience them. And if what you're experiencing is toxic, you can only imagine what other people are experiencing when you express. So you want to experience them and you want to experience just different aspects of you on artist dates, right? So sometimes you're going to go with the quote unquote neurotic version of you, only to find out she's not neurotic. She's actually incredibly brilliant, a genius. She sees everything. And if only you just relax and chill and and lean into journaling and making this crazy fucking biop on these people that you're eavesdropping on at the I don't know where you are. I was going to say the CVS, but that's weird. I was going to say Starbucks at first because it's a coffee shop. And I was like, no, fuck them. They don't get play. So, you're just like Trader Joe. Oh no, what is a restaurant? And can you guys tell I haven't gone outside in a long time? Besides at restaurants that are in my general locale, because I like to go to places that are just like local, and I don't like to talk about those things on the internet because that's strange. But the point that I'm making is like sometimes you go to a place, right? And you're eavesdropping and you want to think and make this fantasy about what's going on with these people's lives, and you go, oh no, that's weird. No, it's not. They're not here. They can't listen to you. Plus, you're just being an author right now. And as long as you don't think that what you're writing is real about those people and that you're just being creative, be creative. That the writer in you, the version of you that likes to make up stuff and imagine, wants to do it then. When you don't sit with yourself and do that in that moment, guess when it's going to come up? when you're in your office and Brenda's talking at the meeting, and now you're over here projecting all that creative, neurotic energy onto Brenda. And all Brenda did was be stupid, a little stupid. She's not, it's none of your business either. But it triggered you because you saw the things that she was doing wrong, and you were like, well, if only. And now you're using all that energy, and that aspect can only be expressed at that time because you told it was too silly to do it at the coffee shop. You see what I'm saying? So it's important to go on these artist dates and to sit with yourself and to express and to explore the world with yourself. Because that's going to be the only way that you get the time with yourself. And then go journal about it. Sometimes you can take your journal on an artist date. Sometimes, I love the concept of just walking. Sometimes that's my cheap one, is just to go on a walk. And I walk places that I don't normally walk, or I try to go with a destination in mind, like a bookstore, something open-ended, or just some food, right? Something fairly open-ended. And you just go on a walk and listen to the different aspects of you. Who steps in? For me, sometimes when I get into downtown, it's a totally different energy than when I'm, on the outskirts of downtown. The congested downtown where all the buildings are, and then you get on the outskirts a little bit. It's not really, when you live in a city, there's different areas, different like residences. There's more parks in some area, this, that, and the other. So, like sometimes you're at the park walking and your energy is totally different. There's a different version of you with you. You're on a date with a different aspect of you. And because you're not expressing it outwardly, you can go inward and experience you inwardly. So you're experiencing not the ego, but the aspect, the creative, the creator of that ego. Okay? It's not being expressed out, it's sitting and you're facing it. This is mirror work. So you go and you hang out, and sometimes these versions of you are going to romance you, and you're going to be like, oh my God, is this weird? I'm romancing myself. No, it's not weird. You know what's fucking weird is this life that we're living in a matrix where everybody does stuff for somebody else and gets confused about who actually benefits and who doesn't, to the point of ad nauseum, to the point of doing it till death, to the point of signing their children up to do it until death. That's crazy. That's crazy. Romancing yourself outside isn't. going outside and being like, oh, romanticizing your life a little, that's not crazy. What people are currently doing is, because what you were doing was just being in a nice little fantasy with yourself, harming nobody. In fact, doing a lot of self-growth and work and analyzing and really just being mature and taking some account into yourself. What these other people are doing is actually fucking insane. They're just harming and abusing people left and right, thinking that something else will change. That's delusion expressed outward, which is highly dangerous, versus delusion in its sphere, where it belongs, in the inner space. So so artist dates, highly, highly, highly important. So as I said, guys, there's some different exercises that you guys can do if you're trying to figure out, oh, what do I do as an artist date and X, Y, and Z, or you just feel like it's complicated or difficult to kind of get yourself out and doing something. Artist dates you do not need to do anything wild and crazy, and you don't need to do anything low key. You just do what comes up. The way that I really like to do it for myself is first pick things that you always tell yourself no and that you always put off. If you put things off, you're not going to do it, and you're always going to make the excuse that you don't need to do it because you always put it off. So it's a really hard habit to break. I do this. I cut my thumb the other day. It was really, really light. Just the knives that we have are really sharp. Hence why I be weird when I have a knife in my hand. I was telling everybody earlier the story of, every time I pick up a knife in the kitchen, I get all of the intrusive thoughts that are like a million ways in which anyone could die right now just because you're holding this, proof. Anyways, so I nicked myself, right? And then I go into the bathroom, and I was like, we have only 3 Band-Aids left. And I was like, I don't really need one. I was like, because you know how bad I would feel if like somebody else gets a scratch or something and then we don't have a Band-Aid because I decided to use it. And then I looked at myself and I was like, so I'm not going to use a Band-Aid to cover my wound because someone else might need a Band-Aid later to cover a wound. What the fuck is a Band-Aid for if I don't use it to cover the wound that I have now? And, I was telling my partner, he looked at me and he was like, we have a whole first aid kit in there, and I was like, it's not about that. It's not about the supplies. It's about the fact that I was denying myself care and proper care in the event and the idea of putting myself out for others. When you have kids, it's easy to do that, especially when you're like, oh, there's only 3. Then my partner's like, well, I put some Band-Aids in the cart, so we'll have some Band-Aids. I was like, bless you for trying to help. Swear to God, I don't hoard materials, just trauma. No. But no, so like, it is a sign though when we withhold things from ourselves. I used to not go out all the time to like now I tell you I go to the ballet, I'll go to like performances, many different performances. I love live art, honestly. But I would always tell myself, oh no, I don't have the time because like I gotta drive over there, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Like it's just there's too much to organize to get me to this place. And also, then there's the kids and then like my partner, like I'd be making all that shit up just to stop myself. Did I like, is it real? No, I could literally go and disappear for 3 fucking hours. And it's not that nobody would pay attention or care. The kids wouldn't care. They'd notice, but they'd be like, they only notice because they want something. Not because like, oh geez, what are you up to? It's only because they're bored. Like it's, or they want something. Obviously my partner would notice, but like, I go on a walk sometimes and I'm gone for like 3 hours and I come back and everything's normal and fine. And I'm sitting here like, I just would tell myself this to cage myself here so that I could keep staying in my general routine, because anything out of my routine is frustrating because now I have to do something different. We all have those reasons, right? For me, it was parenthood. Parenthood really took me off the streets. I had children and I was like, I'm responsible now. I don't do anything, right? Sometimes there's parenthood that does it, but sometimes I just saw someone talk about denial, being raised Catholic. Sometimes it's religion. Sometimes it's a toxic relationship. Sometimes it's a toxic environment. Sometimes it's just a toxic situation that you're in. There are many different things that can trigger this over the strictness of, I should say, that trigger self-denial, okay? I'm denying myself because, and it's always going to be a good reason. I deny myself because what if my children need it? And children come first, right? They come first when it comes to the resources and supplies that we have as a community. We have to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves because we are responsible for them, right? That's the idea, right? But then it's like, well, how are you going to be around to take care of anybody if you don't participate in the supplies? Like, yes, the resources go to others, but they also have to go to you. Otherwise, you won't be around to give out the resources. Yeah, we can't just count ourselves out. So it's like, so for me, it was a realizing that you don't count yourself out. Self-denial counts you out. You count yourself in. So go on those dates. Whenever you deny yourself something, say, well, how can I count myself in? Sometimes if it's money and you really believe that you don't have the funds, you do, you just want to spend them in some other way. 9 times out of 10. If you don't have the funds, well, how can you count yourself in without these funds? Why do you need to do this thing? Can you do something else? Will you deny yourself an artist date solely because you don't have money? That's like saying, I'm not going to date you because I'm broke. Like, damn, okay. I don't need money. I just wanted to hang out. Like, it's feeling a little weird. I don't want, some people are like that. Some people are very much like that. They won't have anything to do with someone if they don't have, infinite cash flows, I guess, for their own reasons. I'm not here to tell anybody about their boundaries. I'm just saying, know what your boundaries are. If you're the type of person that's like, I won't take care of myself unless I have money, then you have to come to terms with what that means. That that you will literally, you are beholden to a number. That you won't take care of yourself unless you have certain amounts of funds. So when you don't have those funds, you will abuse yourself. And when you say it like that, it really does change the narrative a little bit. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that I'm wrapping it up. The point is to take care of yourself. And one way that you do this is artist dates. You start to find out what taking care of yourself means. Just like when you date someone else and you find out things about what they like and what they don't like and this, that, and the other, you do that with yourself. And you can also spend the rest of the week, I'll say it like this, when you go on an artist date, spend the rest of the week thinking about yourself and that aspect and the adventure that you went on with yourself and how it's coming up in other ways. The same way when you go home and you think about someone that you hung out with and you're like, wow, that was so great and this, that, and the other. Do that with yourself too. Wow, I saw these things. I had these signs. I experienced this. I daydreamed that entire time and I had so much fun. It gave me a book idea or X, Y, and Z. Do that. Because That's how you build the relationship with yourself. The same way as when you date somebody, build a relationship with yourself. Yeah, somebody in the comments said, poor people deserve care too. Exactly. Can you imagine if we were like, oh, people are poor, so they're not allowed to have love? That's insane. You get what I'm saying? Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, so at that point, we have to ask ourselves, what's our relationship with money? Because money is more important than the actual energy of it. The purpose of money is to facilitate exchange. When you think that money is more important, that you cannot facilitate exchange, or you can't do anything or have experiences unless you have money. Money is to facilitate exchange. You have to have you have to have an exchange to facilitate to need the money. You see how it's asked backwards? But it's asked backwards to keep most people confused and looking in the wrong direction, while other people try to facilitate exchanges through backdoors and non-consensually and, through bamboozling and scamming people into capitalism and all that kind of stuff. So be mindful and go do that. So we're going to do a check-in next week where we'll figure out how many morning pages you did. I'll be doing this as well. If you did an artist date in the week or something, and I want to say this to everybody, I'll put a message in the Discord. Please, if you're doing and you're following along, they won't all be live, got to respect my paid members. But if you're following along and you're in class, right, please do use the journaling section. We have, not the astrology archives. Let me go up. The garden. We have journaling, dream work, personal growth, things like that. Also creativity. I think I'm going to put in like artist dates or something like that in the creativity section. But please use the hashtag, just hashtag artist-way, artist-way, something like that in the Discord whenever you talk about journaling. If you have any issues or if you just come across a realization, anything good happens to you, or you have a breakthrough, put it in the journaling section. Just like, start a new channel or forum, or maybe I'll just do one that's called Artist Way in the in our journaling, in our community sections, the garden and the creativity section. I'll put one, the Artist Way, so you can put all this stuff in there. And also, again, if you just so happen to come up across other stuff and it doesn't belong in that section, just put a hashtag on it. So that way, if we look in the search bar and just you search Artist Way, we can get all this stuff. So yeah, that's about it. Next week, I'll see everybody. And of course, if you have any questions, leave them either in the lecture chat or, like I said, hashtag something in the Artist Way. And I think that's about it. I always feel like I've got to I need notes at the end. Did I say everything? I think I said everything. I think we're good. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and double check the class chat. Bye. Okay, hello, TikTok. I don't know, I just heard something. Oh, let me mind my business. Okay, so I can finish up class, not me looking at other things. Okay, oh man. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I was not looking at the chat. I normally do. Okay, it sounds like you have filled multiple lives and you take multiple lives. I have lived. Geisha. Oh my God, that's right. The geisha, the one who pours the tea, the fine arts artist. Oh my goodness. Geishas, yes. They are, I had mentioned, just because you aren't a geisha pouring tea doesn't mean you aren't doing a creative act when you go and make yourself tea. You are still an alchemist. You're literally doing real life chemistry. So practical chemistry, practical alchemy would be like chemistry. So you're actually doing that when you make tea. And also if you put intention into it, this, that, and the other, now you're imbuing the chemistry with alchemy. And then once you drink and participate and you drink your tea, this is like you expressing the whole thing. That is art. That's art. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a geisha to do it. It doesn't have to look cute and fancy. It just has to be an experience that you're having. So I'm so glad that thanks, Drew, for throwing that out there. I should have seen it. I just like the question. See yourself. Oh yeah, that question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Bleh. I barely see myself sitting here with you right now. Ask me questions like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly. It's like, what's your favorite color? No, that's not the same thing. It's like when people are like, I don't remember. Tell me about yourself. Oh, Jesus Christ. What do you want to know? What do you mean, tell me about myself? Do you know who I am? That's crazy. I say shit like that to myself in my head all the time. And I'm like, filter. All right. So I'll go ahead and self-filter. Since we're here for this job, I'll just stick to those things. But I feel like you could have asked a better question. I read this I read this last year, and since then I've been on self-discovery journey without even understanding I was doing it, to get in touch with my creative energy, all stemming from reading The Artist Way. The Artist Way changes you completely. Oh my goodness, what movie did I mention? AOT. Oh my God. That movie is amazing. Saw it last month. I have no idea what movie I was talking about now. AOT. Or if I was even the one that said it. I think so. God damn it. Okay, I've been getting answers instantly. It's like low-key triggers my religious trauma. I feel like I'm being watched. Yeah. Oh my goodness, are you still here? Let me see. Oh, she's not here. Okay, yeah. Sometimes when you, religious trauma can, and the feeling of I'm being watched. Technically, you are watching. It's just you're watching yourself. Religious trauma really makes you, so when I say, when you go home and bully yourself, you have to deal with your monster. You're bullying yourself. And sometimes we will say that someone is abusing us. But if you stay in an abusive relationship, and I should say, if you make justification, right? Oh, it's because they didn't mean this. It's probably because you go home and bully yourself. And that's what makes you justify the other person doing it. Do you know that that's happening? No. If you knew that that was happening, would you stop it immediately and get away from that person? Yes, you would, because you would know, oh my goodness, but it's hard to recognize in the moment. So oftentimes, whatever. But the thing is that feeling I'm being watched comes from a toxic relationship with religion, where religion has you self-monitor, it's funny. The way that usually most policing in society works is to get people to self-monitor, but not to know that they're the ones monitoring themselves, but to believe that someone else is. Oh, my neighbors are monitoring me. Oh, my pastor's monitoring me. Oh, God's watching me. Oh, somebody outside of me is watching me, so I have to do what I've been programmed to do, otherwise I'll get caught. And I'll know that I know that I'll get caught because I can feel it happening now. That's the self-monitoring. 9 times out of 10, when you feel that monitor come around, it's because you're meant to go inward. If it comes out as paranoia, just sit. It's okay. Okay. Nobody's, my thing, honestly, because I was a kid. And this stuck with me ever since I was a kid. And I was like, I'd hear about all of those people who get assassinated. You watch the fucking action movies, and I'd be like, it's through the windows, man. That's why you got to close your blinds. Also, I'm Black, and we're taught to close our blinds for many different reasons, because people can see inside your house. They can see what you have, and you don't know who's looking. Yeah, of course you think your nice little neighborhood's just full of people who are your neighbors, but even your neighbors can be crazy. You don't know who they really are until you do, and sometimes you don't want to find out who they are. So the thing is I used to think, if I didn't close my blinds, somebody would definitely be watching. And that was what got me as a young kid to get up and go close the blinds, because my mom would otherwise probably yell at me if she noticed that the blinds in my room were open and it's dark outside, stuff like that. So eventually one day it just dawned on me, and I was like, actually, anybody really could be watching. And I was like, people get assassinated that way. And I spooked myself, right? I went around thinking, oh my God, if I don't do this, it just feels like it's going to happen. And I was like, how did I trick myself into feeling something that clearly isn't happening is happening? And that led me to believe that paranoia is the same thing as having your soul come knock on the door. It's because you're supposed to go into the observer state. And so you are being watched, but it's by you. You just aren't aware that you're watching you. And it's a weird feeling to be conscious of yourself. When you're conscious of yourself, and you're used to other people judging you or acting on perceptions, right? And that's going to happen with religious trauma, this, that, and the other. We don't know that we're the one casting all these judgments. We think we're trying to save our ego, and it's like, no, please let go of the ego. Please turn around. The aspects are trying to talk to you. You are trying to talk to you. But right now you're very aware that you wear a mask and that other people might find out because, oh my God, whatever. There's all sorts of things that come up in that space if you've dealt with trauma, right? But you can easily convince yourself that anyone is watching you, which is why whenever you feel that energy, put your attention on your soul. Oh, my soul must be here. And he must be, or for me, I'm always like, oh, he must be bringing me from the hell dimension. Because, you know, sometimes energy, it goes into dense places and it goes to high octave places. It depends on what information's coming through and the information and the frequency that's out and about. You know what I mean? Which is why you always have to feel like you're safe. And then when I say stuff like that, usually guess what comes through? As soon as I go inward, I will get some type of premonition, and then sometimes I'll end up on TikTok and I'll be like, oh, god damn, this is what it was about. He was just like, my soul was alerting me to this. So that way I would be able to process this trauma that I just saw that just happened, or I would be able to process this information that's going on, or this or that, but I was getting it before I saw it happen. There's all sorts of things. But the only way to know is just to like go inward and to see. And so when you feel like you're being watched, just know like, yeah, you probably are, because it's you. You are watching you because you're observing you. And when you're in that state, you're inward. So you might as well go into yourself. Ignore the external world. The more you try to stay external, the more you feel like everyone around you is now watching you. And then everyone starts looking at you because you're being weird. And then you're like, oh, they're watching me. And then they're like, whoa, something's not right. And then you're like, oh no, see, they do think I'm crazy. And it's like, whoa, you're doing it to yourself. You ever see somebody who's going to a spin cycle like that, where they do something weird and then they're like, and you're just like, you're doing it to yourself. You're doing this to yourself right now. I'm not participating. You know, like I would do stuff like that. See stuff like that and be like, I'm not participating. Or sometimes, you know, when I was in one of those little spirals, you know, so a friend will look at me and like, I'm not participating in this. And I'm like, oh, fine. I'll just do existential on my own. And then, you know, it's all laughs. Okay, so I know Kenya's not here, but if you are doing morning pages and you feel like you're in a hostage situation, trying to get out many pages, like 3 pages or something like that, do what you can and then journal throughout the day. Do what you can and then journal throughout the day. I know the book says, and it really sticks to the point of do it anyways, be in the hostage situation. Honestly, if you do and you can break through it, the better. But if you don't, do some exercises. If you don't know what exercises to do, perhaps you are resistant and you need to find out why you are resisting expressing yourself, right? Is it that you're tired? Is it that you like do some actual diagnosis? Like, what's going on with me? Why am I resistant to this? So take little breaks around, walk around the house, get coffee, stare out the window, then write again until I reach 3 pages. Those Felix's. I saw somebody saying some boundaries. So I have someone who I was trying to be friends with, but she is so anxious about stuff and doesn't reach out to me. But I told her I was going to back off and she could just text me when she was ready. A part of me regrets saying that much instead of just nothing at all. But yay me. No, that's good. I think, I know Kenya's not going to hear this, but for anybody else who feels like, you know, setting boundaries or something like that, like maybe you should just say nothing or this, that. No, it's actually really good to communicate, I think, overall with people. Honestly, I think about this all the time. If I've met someone on a soul level, meaning I was like, I have experienced many different aspects, growth and regeneration, transformation with a person, and then I part ways, I will speak as I part ways to their soul, not to all this ego that I don't like. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this. I'm not talking to these weird fucking made up versions that this person has made of themselves to navigate a situation. If it's not compatible with me, I'm not doing all that. I'm not going to be like, we all know when you've experienced life with somebody and then they kind of like, shift because they're hiding something. And like, you know, you're like, I can't really do this. You're trying to pretend like you're this, even while still being this, because you don't want me to know or to feel this, or it's just as weird. What I'm going to do is say goodbye to the version of you in which I love to the highest degree. Because that's me saying, reaching out, you know, when people talk about soul contracts, I like to reach out to the soul and say goodbye. So that way on a soul level, because the souls are honest and earnest and clean energy, the soul knows that I'm breaking away, which means that the soul can release me. We release each other. It's like, I say this all the time to people. You are a planet, okay? The planet is just you. Give yourself a planet name. I've got planet Francina, okay? And who do we have down here? Naima. I'm just going to use you as an example. Naima has a planet. If Naima's doing an energy reading with me, we're going to go to a shared planet. I'm not going, well, I can visit Naima's planet if I'm doing an energy reading, right? Because I'm in Naima's energy. Naima, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. But I can go there, right? Because I'm in their energy and I'm doing energy reading. But if we're going to be friends and we're going to meet up for coffee, right? Should I go to your planet or is that a little intrusive? Should you come to my planet or is that a little intrusive? No, instead we're going to go to the coffee shop and we're going to go to a shared planet. This is called the Naima Francina planet. And this is a dimension, a pocket dimension that we co-create together using the coffee shop as an anchor. We're going to go there and be present with each other and talk, right? So this is a co-created dimension, which means that it's just ours. What if Thomas the Tank Engine. What if somebody named Thomas wants to come out and start hanging out with us? Are they going to be able to come to the exact same pocket dimension that me and Naima made? No. It's going to now be a new shared reality, one with Naima, Thomas, and me, right? And now, maybe if me and Thomas are just new, we're not friends, maybe he's friends with Naima or something like that. They have a pocket dimension, me and Naima have a pocket dimension, then we're at a shared one, and then me and Thomas are getting to know each other on this shared dimension, okay? But there's still 2 other pocket dimensions on this new dimension. Energy. You know how you can be sitting with someone and you look across the table and you and the other person are on the same page, but then you and the 3 other people that you're having a group meeting with aren't on the same page. You don't even know the 4th person in this group meeting, but you are close friends with one of the people in the meeting and you guys can read each other just by looking at each other. And then if you look at someone else, it's like accident. Oh, sorry. And you divert your eyes because like you don't even be knowing people like that. Like that. What I'm describing, that whole situation I described is the first one, the pocket dimensions. You have different dimensions with people based on your relationships with them. So when you break away, if me and Naima, I'm so sorry, Naima, but if we're incompatible and we can't be friends, if we don't want to do coffee anymore or something like that, like maybe Naima, you are a dog person, I'm a cat person, and we just don't see eye to eye because you said cats were stupid and I said dogs just smell bad. You know what I'm saying? And we were just like on site. Kids, how dare you? Like, it's like like I'm feeling upset. Like you're coming at my people here. You know what I mean? I'm a cat person through and through. And we're just deciding not to be together anymore. I'm going to speak to Naima at a soul level based on the Naima that I met before I met this cat hating version. It's not a good look. You know, but I had such a good time up until then. I'm going to talk to that version, you know, because maybe Naima started talking to Thomas and started spreading lies about me. All because I don't like dogs. And that's just because Naima keeps confusing my dislike for dogs as a dislike for her. And it's like, no, it's not you. It's not personal. Maybe if you didn't have dogs with personality, you wouldn't take it personal. And Naima's over here like, well, if that bitch didn't use cats as a personality, then she wouldn't take it personal. I'm like, I don't. I just respect cats. Like, we're never going to see eye to eye. So I'm over here like, you're spreading rumors to me with Thomas because you keep telling him that X, Y, and Z. And Thomas is sitting here like, these 2 bitches are kind of crazy. I don't know what's going on here. I'm not in it. And then we both look at him and we go, oh, if you're neutral, it's because you're actually not a real friend. Thomas is sitting here like, are we serious over dogs and cats? I should never agree to coffee. Wow. Or maybe he agrees with Naima because he has a better relationship with Naima, right? Either way, I'm going to say goodbye to Naima on a soul level. And that means that our shared pocket dimension breaks. Now, if Naima's obsessed with me and won't leave me alone and starts gang stalking me on the internet with Thomas, they're trying to hold on to something that's not real. I've moved on. You all have that. Okay, I'm going to stop now, Naima, because I didn't call you a gang stalker. I'm so sorry. I couldn't make myself the bad person in the example. Not that you were the bad person either. Apparently we were both crazy. Anyways, the point that I'm making is that, you know, sometimes when you break off with a person, if you do it on bad terms, meaning like you're like, you know what, you're a terrible person and this, that, and the other, that's going to haunt you for quite some time, because how are you going to deny all of the good traits of a person just because you've already acknowledged what you don't like, hence why you're ending the relationship, right? So the next reasonable thing is to acknowledge the things that you do love and then set boundaries about why you can no longer participate in that. And so on a soul level, the soul agrees, okay, souls have to have consent. That dimension works differently than the physical dimension. They have to have consent. So the soul will not act on it. But just like some people ignore their soul, their aspects, and express what they want to express anyways through the ego, they try to put their ego in control. just the same way. They will get obsessed, do something. The ego wants this, the ego wants that external thing. And the next thing you know, this person is dealing with a carcass, an imagination, a figment of their imagination. What happens to a planet that's no longer alive? It dies and it decays. If a person latches on to that, what do you think that they're interacting with? Dead and decay material as if it's living. That is toxic. It's toxic. And once they start ingesting that toxicity, it goes into their mindset. They can only think in certain ways. Their world starts to close in around them, and it's like, you see how I'm pumping my hand, like I'm grasping for breath? The soul is grasping for breath because it's not able to actually create anything and to express itself. The ego has taken over, right? And so when that happens and you're attached to something that's dead and decaying, that's stagnancy, right? We're not expressing ourselves. We're no longer being creative. Our spirit can no longer go where the body keeps trying to take it. The spirit is it has to listen to consent. So it stays back. And if that person keeps going down the road, walking deeper and deeper into a pocket dimension that is literally decaying around them, but not noticing, who are they talking to if you're not there? Who are they talking to? A figment of their imagination, walking around in a dead land, talking to a figment of their imagination, which we do all day anyway, so we know it's not far-fetched. You go on an artist date, who do you think you're talking to? Your soul, which is a figment of your imagination, an aspect of your non-material reality. So it's easy also for people to accidentally do that with people that are alive. We can do that with our aspects and our souls because we're talking to our emotional body, which is a figment of our imagination. You cannot see your emotional body. You can express it, but you cannot see it without expressing it. You have to communicate it. It has to be expressed. It has to be made material. That's your physical body. When you cry, that is your physical body. When you laugh, that is your physical body. It is expressing your emotional body. When you think, unless you talk about them thoughts, physical body, it is in your mind, unexpressed. So when we go around, your soul is like, I can't go there and I can't do that. And the person is taking their mental, their emotional body, and they still are attached to something that is no longer alive, but they're not actually expressing at the soul level. They are expressing at the ego level. And there are many different ways in life in which we all do that for many different reasons. So it's good to become aware of that, right? That's the whole point of the artist journey, is to become aware of that and to do what we need to do with it. Let's see, in one of the book clubs, you said that anything you write down is an affirmation. How do I journal freely knowing that? That makes me nervous. I know, Kenya. I'm going to have to answer these questions in the Discord that Kenya put with this one, because that's such a great question. How do I write things down freely knowing that it is an affirmation? I'm telling you, write it down and then prove it. You can always take it back. That wasn't, like when you write it down, okay, it's 2 steps to this. One is, write it down. Damn it, this is an affirmation. This is what I'm telling myself. Good, now that you can see it. When you don't know how to best express at the soul level, I'll answer that one. When you don't know that you believe something about yourself, how can you change it? So next, change it. Now that you see it, you can change it. You're an artist. You can do whatever you want. Now that you see it, you can change it. You can change your mind. So I could just change my mind about all of, yep. You really can. You really can. You ever have somebody go hot and cold on you and they never get hot again? You ever go hot and cold on someone and you never go hot again? You just changed your mind about that person because they showed you something that you didn't like and you were like, no. It just lost you on every other level. You're like, I no longer even want to be in the same room with this person. That's like how much I just, you know, no offense. I don't even dislike you. I just don't want you. I just don't want to consider your existence. Yeah, you can flip just like you can flip like that. You can flip like that about the way that you feel about money, the way that you feel about your time, the way that you feel about anything, honestly, because it's all about how you choose to interact with it. I'm following let me answer that question about how to best express at the soul level. One, yeah, by letting go. One is the best way, the artist way. Go do morning pages. The best way to express at the soul level is when you wake up in the morning, go write 3 pages. Stream of conscious. Just go write 3 pages. Stream of consciousness. If you don't know what to write, pick one of the activities. If you don't know one of the activities, write what you're grateful for. If you find it hard to write about what you're grateful for, there you go. There you go. Your soul is having a hard time. Where are you? Where's your soul? Because you're having a hard time connecting. Man, so now find things that you were grateful for. Just because you couldn't think of them off the top of your head means that you need to put more effort into it, because you have so much effort in the direction of not being grateful. And if you don't know what to write stream of conscious, you're like, I don't even know what I care about today. Write that. I don't even know what I care about today. Why don't I know anything? I have to write 3 pages. I literally have nothing to write, except for the fact that I have nothing to write, which is kind of silly when you think about it. You'll get going eventually. You just do it. But when you do that, I felt that before, feeling indifferent, neutralizing. Yeah, but when you express yourself in that way, and you get to know all of the different aspects of you, which are all the different fragments of your soul that feel how they feel, that think how they think, that create how they create, and then you can you set boundaries. Whatever is negative, set boundaries. Give it, and by boundaries, when do you give it absence? If something feels negative, when do you give it absence? When it feels super fucking negative, or immediately when you recognize that it feels negative? If immediately you recognize something is negative and you give yourself absence from that thing, okay, what does absence look like? From people, sometimes it looks like walking away or not engaging with them, right? Sometimes it's just not engaging on an emotional level, because you work with somebody, but you refuse to engage on an emotional level. Sometimes it's not engaging on a physical level. It depends on the appropriate situation, right? That's all in the moment. And sometimes with environments, it's not going physically to that environment, or it's not going and interacting with that physical thing in that environment. Or with situations, it's whatever that looks like. When do you walk away? What does walking away mean in that situation, in that context? And that is not something you plan for or plot for. That's something that you consider in the moment. And that's how you know when to best express spiritually. But like getting to know what needs expressing and what needs boundaries is when those morning pages. I'm following an unconventional path, and people keep asking me when I'm meeting conventional milestones, and I've been playing bimbo about it and making myself meek for some reason. How do I just be like, fuck you, I don't know you an answer without saying that? I'll be over on TikTok. Saying that I'll be over on TikTok. Video works better for me somehow. Okay. So how do you tell people to mind their own fucking business? Man, sometimes it is a matter of not playing stupid, but sometimes you just can be honest about how you're not giving out information on that. Oh, that's a work in progress. I don't talk about works in progress. Or I'm not talking about that right now. I'm literally talking about this. Well, how come you don't want to talk about this thing? First of all, I don't like talking to you about it because you have no good information to give me on it. And I'm on a break. I'm literally here to like socialize, not work. Well, you don't want to talk about work? I always talk about my work. That's you. I'm here to take a break from work. I talk about work with work people. Not with you. Damn, why you gotta be like that? Because... do you have what I'm looking for? Sometimes it's not about being mean. It's just about showing people, being like, I'm trying to be the next wolf princess. Let me stop. That's crazy. I just so happen to have this up here. But I'm trying to be Ashtaka. Do you know how to like literally sacrifice your entire life and to go west and find out what is causing these gods to go mad? Do you have the range? What are you even talking about? Exactly, Becky. Exactly. You don't have the range to talk about the things that I'm doing. So don't bring it up. Especially when I'm working on it. I'll let you know. How would you like me to let you know? With a gift card? I don't understand. What are you, my boss? What's going on here? Why are you trying to stress me out? Work, talking about work when I'm supposed to be resting is a stressful thing. Aren't you supposed to be my friend? Oh my God, you're being too much. Okay, now that you know that I will be too much every time you fucking ask me that, don't ask me that again. I'm so serious. I do that to people. They'd be like, you're so goofy. Yeah, because if I say it in the real way, it's going to hurt your fucking feelings and you're going to cry. And I'm not trying to deal with that either while I'm trying to relax. Oh my God, she's so mean. Yeah. See, the people who know me on an intimate day-to-day basis that I was forced to be around. So like when I was in school, whether that be primary or secondary or coworkers, anybody who I'm forced to be around always comes to that conclusion. You're so mean. Yes. Because if I don't like being around you all the fucking time, If you're annoying, if you do annoying shit, I'm going to be mean to you to make you go away. So sometimes you do have to be mean. But what is being mean? Sometimes we call saying no being mean. And it is perfectly acceptable if you go, if somebody asks you about like how something's working out for you and you go, I don't talk about that with you. No offense, but I only talk about that with like my mentors and stuff. That's like rule number 1 is don't talk about the things that you're working on with people who have no experience in it. Now, if that happens to be your mom and now she's offended, she should be fucking offended. Let her be. That is the Mel Robbins book, The Theory of Let Them. Let them be emotionally upset. Let them be offended. Let them be silly. Let them be happy. Let them be mad. Let them laugh. Let them feel however the fuck they feel. You don't have to navigate somebody else's feelings. You just have to express your own. And if you want to express in a way that's not like, derogatory and things like that, just let somebody know I am resting and I'm not thinking about my work stuff. I do, like when I come to talk to you and stuff like that, it's to do X, Y, and Z, not to talk about what I'm doing with work. Let them do their own emotional labor. And if they go, you'll be surprised. I will say to you this, if you're afraid to let somebody do their own emotional labor and you're like, oh, they're going to be so upset with me and X, Y, and Z, they're not going to talk to me for 30 days. I'm going to have to do this whole rigmarole. Other people are going to be like, hey, why'd you say this to so-and-so? They're crying and they're upset. Let them. You'll be surprised that when you let them do all that shit for 30 days, all of a sudden, what you were doing sped up. All of a sudden, what you were manifesting just started clicking and coming together very quickly. Very quickly, because you're not using your own creative energy or your soul's energy. You're not using your power, your soul energy to mitigate someone's feelings. Instead, and to think about how to mitigate their feelings and to think about them while you're doing stuff and then to be reminded of them while you're doing stuff, which you're not doing all of that. Instead, you're just doing your thing. Your soul said, And so that's for me. Just like when I say respect the soul, when the soul says, bitch, I'm not doing that with you. It's because the soul is saying, I don't consent. If you force yourself to, you're torturing yourself. You're torturing yourself. If you force yourself to talk to people about the things you don't want to talk to them about and your soul keeps saying, stop, it's because there's something not right here. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that person's bad. It could be that that person is about to emotionally dump on you instead of doing their own work because their soul is using this as an example to show them that they need to get on their own shit. And when the moment your ego goes, well, let me lessen the burden, their soul's pissed because their soul almost got their ego under check. Your soul's pissed because your soul's like, not only did you stop them from doing their work, but you stopped us from doing our work. And now now the energies, this is frustration, right? This is, I'm frustrated and I'm tired. I don't even know how we got here. I don't even know what's going on right now. You ever get into one of those arguments where you're just like, oh my God, what is even this? Can we just stop and just pretend like none of this is happening? Because I don't even know what page. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. You ever get into one of those arguments? That's because your soul, their soul, your egos, everything's all discombobulated and shit. And it's because like everybody's just in the wrong. And in the wrong in their own way because they didn't set boundaries or have a boundary set upon them, things like that. So yeah. Okay, everybody, I gotta go now because I'm hungry and tired. So everybody who's still in class, I'll see you next week. And also all this stuff is going to be, I'm going to go ahead and update the, stop streaming, there you go. I'm going to go ahead and update the, what's it called? The newsletter with the streaming link. And then I'm going to have the video downloaded and have that updated tomorrow. Let me see. Yeah. So everybody on TikTok, thanks for coming around, sticking around, and really appreciate you popping in. Hope you got something that was really helpful. We aim to help, and whether you are participating in the Midnight Scholar Society and doing the Artist Way with us, please go get the book. Go listen to it. Get it from the library. I listened to my copy from the library. Okay. Go listen and just commit to it. It will change your entire life. This isn't about becoming a better painter. It's not about, unblocking, so you can color, art pages again because you used to color and now you don't, and you just need a new stress reliever, and maybe this will help you be more artistic so you can relieve your stress. No, it's about changing your whole fucking life. Okay? It's about being somebody who just gets the color pencils and just colors instead of thinking about how you have to do that as one of your de-stressing mechanisms. No, you won't need de-stressing mechanisms because you will be someone who centers in living a non-stressful life and acknowledging what is stressful, backing the fuck away from that, letting it go. No judgments. We don't have to let stuff go because we're pissed. We don't have to let stuff go because we're annoyed, because it made us sad, because it was mean. We can just let stuff go because it just seems weird. Okay? And if it's meant to be, it'll come back. That's fine. But right now, no. That's how we can do a lot of things. So that's it. I'm going to go eat now. And thank you, everybody, for popping in. I will see you all, especially in class next week. And yeah, to everybody on TikTok, thanks for popping in. Good night. This will also be up on YouTube. So, follow me there, especially. Oh, somebody said, wait. Oh my God, that was so dramatic. Name of the book. Oh, The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. That's so right. Not me. I am known for shit like that. I will talk about something the entire time and be like, what, you wanted to know the name? That's wild. I'm going to go fix myself. But The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Also, if you want to read a book on emotional maturity, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And if you just so happen to want to know more, go to my newsletter and free newsletter. Also, I have a Discord. There's a free section on the Discord. Most of it is. And then there's the paid section, of course, where we do classes, book club, and everything in between. Sometimes we do workshops, things like that. So, feel free to keep in touch over there. Also YouTube. And I'm out. Bye, everybody. Okay, bye.